Testing. Testing. Sir. Good. Okay. And to people who joined us online, we had a few technical issues this morning with our system. I guess you could see, but there was no volume, so that has now been corrected. I'm informed. So the council has passed the adopted the agenda, and they have approved the council meeting with corrections. Basically, they recited the oath of office. The prayers were said prior to that. They recited the oath of office, and they signed the MBQ confidentiality agreement. They set the dates for the meetings in January and February, and they approved that I would travel to Indigenous Services Canada when that meeting can be scheduled to discuss housing and infrastructure and capital. And right now we are at setting a new date for the swearing-in ceremony of the council. It was scheduled for January the 7th, but due to the death of Betty Jean Elizabeth Brooks, a 29-year Quinny Mohawk school teacher, the funeral was at the same time. So the council decided to reschedule that meeting till another date. So that's where we're at. So when would the council like to have that ceremonial swearing-in ceremony? When is the hall available? So the 21st. Yeah.
I'd go with the 28th.
Okay, I'd suggest we have it at 2 o'clock because people go to church, and church people could come as well. It's at 2. The ceremony is quite short. Mm-hmm. Then there's some snacks after and stuff like that. So it doesn't, that's really what it is.
So you just want snacks?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a meal. Or would you rather have corn soup and all of that? It's up to the council.
Yeah, I'd like some soup.
Okay, then we'll have corn soup. We'll have corn soup and
I'm always about to
crackers
say.
and cheese and squares, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll list the January 28th?
At 2, you said, Chief?
Yeah, at 2 p.m. If we could have a motion then to schedule for that time, if that works for everybody.
Move that one.
Moved by Ogwari and seconded by Aaron. Anybody opposed? And you can wear traditional dress or regular clothes. It's up to you. Okay. That motion is carried. So the swearing-in ceremony will be January the 28th at 2 p.m. at the Mohawk Community Center. And just confirm with Tom that date is available. Okay, thank you. The next item is if there's no other business arising from the minutes, is there any other business arising for the minutes?
I was just curious. Every other Wednesday is local meeting, so because Chip didn't know that, I didn't know that.
Okay, that's normally what happens unless there's other meetings that are in conflict, then we have to reschedule.
Okay,
Normally it would be every other Wednesday.
all right, that's fine.
Okay. So that any other business?
Okay, it's not gonna work.
Any other business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. That was February the 28th, 2 p.m.
Oh, January.
Meetings. Oh,
January.
Pardon me?
Or this meeting is?
January 28th.
If you're going to go to the AI housing circle, you would also want to reschedule TMC regular on February 7th.
Okay. And that's going to be at Oneida, right? I wish they would consult about these dates.
What date was that?
Hmm?
The 7th?
If we're done by 2 o'clock, that allows enough time to drive to Oneida.
No, you'll already be in Toronto for that. It's the 6th and the 7th, and CMC regular is scheduled.
Oh,
on the
I
7th.
see. I see. I didn't see that in my calendar.
I could do the Thursday, the 8th. Or will you be back by then?
I will be. So how about February, changing it then from February the 7th to February the 8th?
No? Oh, Thursday. Oh my gosh, sorry.
What's that, your birthday?
Thursdays is no good for me.
I'm so sorry.
I can't
Thursday's no
do
good for me?
Thursday.
Okay, for you? Okay, anyway.
Any other day but Thursday.
What about the
Friday?
5th then? Does the 5th work?
For me, yes.
Yep.
5th work for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be rescheduled then to February the 5th. Motion to switch the dates then from the 7th of February to February the 5th due to the AI housing symposium.
Yes,
Moved by Chris Brandt, who will second it?
I'll second.
Curtis Brandt. Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Okay, thank you. Is there any other business arising from the minutes? So I will need a motion to go to the Chiefs Council meeting in Caldwell, January 30th to 31st, and the AI Housing Symposium, February 6th and 7th.
Motion.
Moved by Chris
I'll second it.
and seconded by Curtis. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Oh, there's so the Tourism Council for Prince Edward County, we have an appointment, a council appointment to that board, and that is Josh Hill was the former person appointed to the tourism board for there to coordinate, I guess, issues with Tyendinaga and how we can work together to promote tourism in the area. And so it's at the discretion of the council. The individual can be a councilor, a member, a staff member, or an MBQ committee member. How would council like to handle this appointment? Is there anybody from council who wishes to serve on that board? If so, put your hand up or say.
I'd volunteer for that.
You'd volunteer? Is there any other interest from anybody else? If not, can we have a motion then to appoint Ogari to the board?
Yeah, I'd like to be his backup chief, or his backup.
Okay, so it'll be appointed.
And chief, could council consider moving forward a much stronger active strategy? And this, something like this
Yeah,
could be
well,
part of that strategy. And
let's not, let's stick to what we're
Yep.
discussing. We can discuss that later.
Okay.
Okay, so so I guess we'll have then Gwari as the appointee. And Chris Miracle has volunteered to be I guess an alternate person. Is an alternate. Is there anyone opposed? If not, then could we have a motion to make a motion to appoint Chris and Golgari and Chris to this board?
all motion.
Moved
I'll
by
second
Chris.
it.
Aaron? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. So a letter will go to the mayor regarding those appointments. Now, if you're not going to attend, make sure you let them know. Don't show up, okay? The Chiefs Committee on Political Restructuring, the chief's office could do a better job, in my opinion, to provide advocacy, because really they're the grand chiefs of the PTOs are the Leadership Council. As of January this year, I am on the Leadership Council to just deal with the housing and infrastructure portfolio, because I chair that committee. So the restructuring of the committee will probably include, going forward, the chairs of the various chiefs committees. And so, but some of these committees don't ever meet. We don't get any information, and so really they're dormant. There are a number of dormant committees, and there's a lot of need in the First Nations communities, and so there's a lack of sometimes communication and coordination, and so a lot of times the chiefs are left hamstrung in what's going on until we have our chiefs, our general meeting, our quarterly meeting, or our annual meeting in the summer. But there needs to be stronger advocacy, because there is a lot of needs that are unaddressed that need money. There are 21 boil water advisories yet to be addressed. Communities still lack water lines, they lack housing, they lack infrastructure, they lack internet, they lack post-secondary education money, they lack rights being recognized and the laws amended to accommodate the recognition of our rights. So there's a lot of political work to be done. So they're restructuring this committee. I don't really believe that I have time to do this. And of course, it will be an AI appointee, because the person would be representing AI. If you wish me to do it, I can do it. But again, it takes more time away from the other things I need to be working on. And we have land claim negotiations coming up. And so I have to make that the priority, because that's the business of our community. So I don't like to spread myself thinner than what I already am. Now, I can see if we can appoint one of our counselors to go on, but normally it is a chiefs committee that you have to be a chief to. And it's a decision of AI. But I just wanted to let the council know that to do this justice, I don't really think that I have the time to be on any more committees.
I think if you don't have the time, I think you should spend your time here with us in our community and look after our community. If you had the time, then the extra time, shall I say, then you go. But first thing is first, and that's here.
Because right now I chair the Chiefs Committee on Energy, and I chair the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure. Then I'm also a committee member of the Chiefs Committee on Health. And so that's a lot of committees.
That's a lot of committees. Spread yourself thin, yeah.
So I don't want to be, and oftentimes when you get on these committees, you'll find that they'll leave it up to you to do all the work. So we did resolve one issue this past, since over Christmas, the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit has been resolved. First Nations are eligible. Hastings County had been getting the money from 2020 until now. It's a multi-year strategy. It's funded 50% by CMHC, and I think it was $71 million this year, and it provides rent top-ups to people that are finding it hard to pay their rent, low income. It's geared for low income, to keep people housed, and seniors and that sort of thing that are on low income. And so when we had the discussion about the TSF funding, that they were receiving $24,000 a year from the province, and I said that's insufficient. And I looked into it, and I found that there's some communities, smaller communities than we are, receiving $400,000. I said this is not the distribution formula is inequitable. The reason why that happened is because in 2010, the Ontario Works Administrator for here decided, instead of giving the people the help they needed, to refer them to the housing office for a housing loan, and to repairs on their housing. And so as a result, that became the formula going forward. Whatever was allocated in 2010, it was never corrected by the ministry. And so I had a call with some senior people in the government, and Sam and Joel Abram are the Grand Chief for AI, which we're part of. to say this is inequitable and I want it corrected. And I said, I don't want a policy table. I don't want a rhetoric discussion. I want the formula corrected so it's fair and equitable for our community. I don't believe that people should have to come and lobby my office on a case-by-case basis for assistance that they need for basics. And so they agreed to send $40,000 over till the end of March. And so I have a call with Deputy Minister Cole. Is that the 12th or 17th? To discuss that formula, because I want it equitable for our community, because population matters, because the more people you have to provide services for, the more it's going to cost. So they agreed to fund another $40,000. As far as the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit, I've received the Director of Housing for the Ministry of Housing that we are now eligible. The problem is that Hastings County probably has allocated all of that money to existing, it's $345,000 they receive, but they also receive COCHI funding, which is the Canada Ontario Housing Initiative benefit, and they receive $1.2 million. So I've sent an email over to Guylaine Boudreau, who is the Director of Policy at CMHC, and also I've sent an email to Michelle Tremblay, who's the new President of CMHC. And I told them, I said, this really flies in the face of the statements that are made in the National Housing Strategy, because Indigenous people are high priority, low income Indigenous, and it said there's no criteria that says you have to live off the reserve. And so it got interpreted that way. When the money goes to the province, they then dole it out to the, I think it's 47 or 48 housing providers. Of course, in Hastings County, they have the Hastings County that does social housing. And so they give that money out to the counties, and then they distribute it to the people that make applications. But when I asked them what their policy was, they said you had to live off the reserve to get it. And I challenged that. I said, that isn't what, it undermines the purpose of the National Housing Strategy. So when I called Ottawa, they said, well, the province sets the policy, but I said 50% of the money is federal. And the minute and Sean Fraser needs to say something to Paul Calandra, the Minister of Housing, because I said this undermines what's stated in the housing strategy nationally. And so they did have discussions, and it is clarified that reserves are eligible. Now, if they don't have money, then I'll have to have a chat with Paul Calandra to get some money in to do us till the end of the year, till they can straighten all of that whole inequitable distribution of the money. So that has now been resolved. We are now eligible. I didn't know that that was happening. That's why I think it's imperative that the council periodically have a meeting with the directors and managers. So if these things can be flagged, if that's what's happening in the administration. I was not made aware that that was happening. That's what was happening until we had the conversation about TSSF. I said, well, why are they not applying for COB? Oh, well, we can't get COB if you live on the reserve.
Is this for the political, are we talking about the same thing?
Pardon me?
Are we still talking about the political restructuring? the
Yeah,
Chiefs of Ontario?
but see, this is one of the issues that the chief's office should have paid attention to.
Okay.
And didn't they have staff that are supposed to monitor all of that? So I'm looking at all of the other social programs that are available off reserve and to see which ones are not extended to the reserve, to try and get that straightened out. So those discussions are ongoing. But so far, we've got COB and we've got the TSF. They know they've got to correct that formula. So anyway, and I will be arranging a meeting with Connor Dory, who is the new administrator for Hastings County, and Deborah Headley, who looks after the COB funds. So if you'd like to come, but the housing portfolio should be there. And if any of the other councillors are interested, we have that meeting, you're welcome to attend. We'll let you know when it is. Okay, so the political restructuring, and again, I think AIA will probably appoint one of the other chiefs, because to do this justice, you have to attend those meetings. And quite often you get bogged down in the differences between the North and the South with the northern communities. And, it's hard to make decisions with the way that the chief's office currently is operating. So anyway, I will keep you informed on that. But if council believes I should attend this, then I will do it. I will let my name stand.
I think if you have, like, you find that you have time and you're able to do it, then it would be good. But if you find a conflict and it's not
I wouldn't
a
mind being an
priority-
alternate if the person can't go. And actually what happened with the AFN Chiefs Committee, quite often the appointees that were on the Chiefs Committee for the AFN Chiefs Committee on Housing were not available. So I then, as the alternate for that committee, attended most of the meetings. We were able to get millions of dollars in water through on
So
that.
you
I
would be,
I feel that, you know, we want to focus on us rather than focus on
Yeah.
the whole of Canada.
Yeah.
And if, like we stated before, that if you are able to
Yeah.
attend meetings, then you can. But if this is going to benefit our community,
Yeah,
then I feel that you should go if you do have the time.
yeah. The thing about it is that the AFN lobbies the government for what goes in the budget for housing, for water. The money has to go into the federal budget for it to filter on down to the region, then for First Nations to have the pot of money to apply to get the infrastructure and needs that we have. So the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure is a very important committee because we lobby for money to the government.
Then and I think
That's why I'm on that committee. And we are
Absolutely.
making progress on that committee.
So on
It's one of the
this-
few committees that are.
on this political restructuring one, you could be an alternate, is that what you were?
That's what I'm going to say, saying that maybe one of the other chiefs that don't have the volume of work that we do here, they might have more time to dedicate it. And the chiefs, the other chiefs understand the issues too.
I'm okay
So,
with that.
so I will just put, I'll put my name forward as an alternate then.
Do we need a motion?
I'll just make a note, and because this will have to go on the AI Chiefs Council meeting. And so that will come up because I did want to discuss that with the council here first. Okay, thank you. And we'll just note that the chief said if there's time, then to do it. If not, then I'll volunteer as an alternate. The Chiefs Committee on Political Chief Miracle. So the directors would like to meet with the council to go over in more detail their respective directorates and provide an opportunity for the council to ask questions and to get better to know what the MBQ does. So they're looking for a number of half days for the following areas: the administration, HR and IT, finance, community infrastructure, housing and van property maintenance, education, languages and culture, community well-being, community services, review of land claims, and economic development. So that's 9 half days. So is there any preference to what days we could schedule these meetings for?
And, if days don't work, then we'll have to work around that, right? So if there's a couple evenings or a
Yeah.
Saturday or something like
Yeah,
that. we'll have
evenings
to
or
work
Saturday,
around that,
we're flexible. Because I know quite a few of you have other jobs, so we can do it at night too, if you'd like to do it at night.
Hopefully not all of them are at night, but if it has to be, it has to be.
Or we could do a schedule Mondays or something like that.
It's just working around everybody's schedule, right?
And some of
We're
them,
just
some of
trying to-
these, yeah, and some of these, maybe the directors, 2 or 3 directors could come in one session, half-day session. But some of them are,
Some of them need,
some of them will need a full
Need that
half-day.
time.
Yeah, but they're,
and like, for instance, Lisa, so she would be community services, but she would also be doing the part about the review of the land claims, and we would talk about the dev corporations and stuff like that. So that might actually be a day where all her things would be, like, all those areas would be handled at the same time. So that's something that can be done too. And that actually, with the corporations, might even include Derek, the resource that we've been using for some of the ACTEV corporations as well.
okay.
Well, for myself, Mondays would be all right as long as I do have I do work for farmers and I deliver food out to the factories. And on average during the harvest, I'm working 60 to 70 hours in a 5-day week.
Okay,
So, but anyway, if we knew enough time ahead a Monday, I could take the Mondays off, along with all of the other days
It
off.
would it be better, I guess, Chris, to have the full day or a half day? Because they're requesting
If I'm
half
gonna
days.
take a half day, I better take full day.
Right. and you can get-
Myself, like, there's no sense of taking a half days, and then I'd need two
Okay.
half days to
And
make.
that'd be fine, because really you can put one directorate in the morning and one in the afternoon.
That'd be fine for me.
So-
Nights
make it
are kind of a little bit hard because I normally get up at 2 o'clock, 3
Okay.
o'clock in the morning to work. So
All right, so then let's try a Monday then. So what Monday will we start this? And we can schedule more meetings at that time. Maybe in a couple of Mondays, we could get it all done.
Certainly try, I mean, even if there's, like I said, well, evenings won't work, I guess, a Saturday.
Or a Saturday, we can come on.
Is next week too soon, the 15th, for anybody?
No, I meet with them in the morning, so
Or
I'll
is that
be,
too
We,
soon for
we,
you,
we,
Chris?
I can, there is a technical committee meeting on Meaty Rights assertion, but that's just an update. I can get that update from the staff at the chief's office. So do you want to start on the 15th then?
Is that too short notice, Chris?
no, that's fine.
That's okay.
So let's schedule the first meeting on the 15th then at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Can we do the full day that day?
full day. Does that give the staff enough time to be ready? Are they ready?
they'll be ready, chief.
Starting at what time? 9?
Start at 9.
That's a sleeping day.
Do you have any other dates? Because that might only take care of one or two people of that group.
So the next Monday, the 27th, good.
The 29th would be best.
The 29th, that's the day I have to travel to London. So could we do a Saturday then? Or a night meeting?
Which night would people be available?
Okay,
Like I said, if it's gonna be a night, I'd rather make it on a Friday night. Because
Okay.
then I know I'm not
Okay.
Yeah.
waking up at 3 o'clock
That's
in the
fine with
morning
me.
to go.
I'm good with that. I'm not doing anything. I don't want-
the 19th, the Friday works okay all day if that works for you, Chris, instead
I
of a
guess we'll have
Monday.
to
Will
do
that
a
work for you or
lottery
not?
on
The Fridays are
what
busy for
director
you, aren't
gets to
they?
work that night, on a Friday night.
Well,
Do
A
you
Saturday
think,
is fine,
like,
too.
No,
What-
no, no, no.
Okay.
What I'm saying is it helpful, like, when can you start it? It's not like, to me, a 7 o'clock meeting. Can we start at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or? Like you guys, you know what I mean? Not starting
Yeah,
at
I'm
7 o'clock. and
Super
going for
flexible
Several hours.
for
Can we actually
afternoon or
start
evenings.
earlier?
Yeah, I'm
in-
flexible. I would want to meet because I know you guys have jobs.
I'm good with Friday, anytime Friday. I could even start at noon.
well, I could probably get at least one run. What I talk about a run is one delivery made in the morning on a Friday and put transport away and be ready for a meeting. Yeah, that'd be fine.
What time?
By noon.
Okay, so then if
Even
we
like,
start at
when-
noon then
when do
on
you
the
normally
19th?
finish For the day, 5? Oh, wait.
Two runs usually.
19th of January? What you just said?
19th at noon.
Is that correct, Chief?
And can we
19
run that one a little
Noon.
later into the
Noon.
evening and do another one too? Or if everybody's okay with that,
Well,
if we started at
what-
noon
You
and
guys
went
wanna
on?
do? You
Okay,
look
why
like-
don't we see how much we get done on the 19th, then we'll know what we can schedule after that.
Well, I need to know if the staff need to be prepared to come in that night, on the Friday night, that's all.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with starting at noon and doing a full 8 hours if we needed to and getting people
Okay.
through.
So try to get
Okay.
at least 2 to 3 or whatever I can
Yeah.
get in there.
If that's okay.
Yeah, so we can schedule the 15th and the 19th.
Oh.
That's-
So then those two dates then will be the 15th, all day.
You're not going to assign the technical committee on the. 2 days.
No, I'm going to just get an update.
He did mention that.
Because the Treaty 3 is in court with about that issue, so that it's a legal update.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I don't
And
believe
do-
there's any
do it
political
full day?
meetings scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
And they may discuss lobby dates with other MPs or where Bill C-53s are.
I don't know if you were made aware at our last meeting, but if you go into that drive where it says TMC 2024 to get to your agendas, above that says program briefing notes, I think. It's a file, it's got the old 22 briefing notes that staff prepared, and there's a file 23. They're all in there from all the directors, so you can view them prior to meeting with the directors too. So if you had questions prior to, then you would be able to, it might make it go a little quicker, but you can review all the briefings prior to.
Oh, perfect.
Where were they?
Apologies if that wasn't clear at the December 18th meeting. Sorry.
Where did you put those or say they were in? Which file?
If you go into that, the folder.
It should be in the same folder as your council agenda packages.
Oh, in these files? Okay.
Everything
No, the file.
was my.
Can you guys find it?
Yeah, I read them.
Program briefing. Perfect.
Check on it. It's going to show you what they've.
So you did get it? Perfect, thanks.
This is what was submitted 22, and this is what the most recent that they just done this year.
Oh, perfect. Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, well, Chief, we can start off with those two dates and then we can go from there.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll have a motion then for those two dates, who will move, and times, who will move.
I'll move.
We'll go out by Chase Ovari,
I'll s-
second by Curtis. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
And that was a 12 p.m. start for the 19th, right?
Yep.
I'm sure we can even have supervision brought in too.
Will you let us know which one will be on which day? And then we
I will
can
work
make
with
sure.
them tomorrow to figure out what that is and then we'll let you know.
Fantastic.
January the 15th.
Make sure I read the right one.
Holiday. And January,
January 15th, all day, and the 19th.
the 19th noon until evening.
Yep.
No, very appreciative. Thank you so much.
So we will have a supper meeting at that time.
Fantastic. Love that.
Okay. Okay.
Not responding.
If there is anything that the council, briefing notes that the staff can send to the council ahead of the meeting, it will make the meeting go faster because they read it.
It's already been done.
It's already been done?
Yeah, they were, like, Curtis already read all of them.
Okay, good.
It was done on December 18th.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, great. I haven't seen it.
Christmas.
Who's your Christmas present?
Yeah, okay, we'll have a 10-minute break.
Sorry, we're taking.
So some dates have been set then to meet with the directors, January the 15th all day and January the 9th from noon onward. We'll start those meetings with the directors to brief the council and ask any questions they may have. Have your questions prepared in advance. And I think if you send them in to the directors ahead of the meeting by email, it gives them a chance to look into it. If there's things, detailed information you're looking for, it'll give them a chance to look into it.
And make sure you copy me, please.
And copy Angela and
So I
myself,
know.
Angela and myself and Shelley and Amzie in on it so they can follow up as well. Okay. Okay, the corporations, we have corporations set up. We have a solar project with a company, and we have wind power. It generates revenue that goes into the bank account. Is it quarterly or monthly that money goes into that bank account at the Bank of Montreal?
That's a CFO question. I don't have the immediate answer, but I do know that any money that we get from those two funds is been approved to flow to the ECDEV commission once.
And it's about $250,000 a year.
300,000.
Is it 300,000?
I think one's 250 and the other's 50.
Yeah, the wind power is 50, and I think it's 250 for the solar.
Right.
Okay, so there's about 300,000 comes in on those two projects, but we'll get you the detailed information.
That's part of the one.
That's part of the briefing.
Yeah, well, the one group we talked about the ECDEV or
The
businesses that would be.
the Mohawk Golf Course has a board, and the interim board is the council on these boards. They are interim because the goal was to have other people from the community to fulfill those roles. When we set up a corporation, if it's a band empowered entity, the council, because they're setting up the corporation, they become the interim directors until they appoint other people.
Is that in the, is
To be
that
directors.
in the agreements?
And the reason why we set up these corporations is because the band is a not-for-profit entity, and you can't have for-profit entities if you're a nonprofit organization. And so that's why we have to appoint other directors.
Yeah.
Chief, what item are we on? Sorry, we're up there. What item are you on?
We are on number 7, the corporations. It said it was to set up a meeting, well, just giving them some background to what these corporations are.
7.
Then there's the Belleville Affordable Housing, which is the 38 apartments on 1 Front Street, Belleville. Its occupancy will take place, I'm informed, March the 1st. They are currently looking at getting some Nietzsche funds, so maybe to make it mortgage-free, but all that is under discussion yet with Nietzsche. And applications are going to have to be filed for any funding from there by the 12th of January is the deadline, and decisions will be made on the 26th of January by Nietzsche. That's the National Coalition for Housing Incorporation, and so they have $281.5 million over 2 years to provide funding to service providers for housing off reserve. So that's what that is. They did receive money to buy the property from the Regional Land Initiative, which provided, I think, a little over $4 million to help them buy the building, the government surplus building, and to pay for the real estate and legal fees involved with purchasing the building. And they received $2.8 million from CMHC to help with renovations. And then there's a little over an $8 million loan from CMHC, so they can get funds from Nietzsche that can help reduce that mortgage. And so there are 38 apartment buildings. There'll be a time and date scheduled for council if you want to go look and see, to see the building, to see what it'll provide. But not all of our members want to live on the reserve. Some of them want to live in the city where they're close to the amenities with public transportation, their doctors, the grocery store, the drugstore. Some of them are used to living in the city. So it's a way to address the needs and also to put roofs over more people, so by taking advantage of all the money that's available for both on reserve. And so it might be, we might want to look at even applying to Nietzsche to buy some houses in Toronto.
And where was that building at?
It's 1 Front Street, Belleville.
Oh, wow.
But you have to make an appointment. If you're interested, then,
We can arrange it for sure. Yep.
Isaac Benoit is the person that would take you on the tour that works there, and Richard Summers, but he's quite easy to work with, and that's something, so that we need to appoint another person to that board, it's on the agenda. It's on the agenda.
Yep. Remember I handed it to you yesterday.
Yeah,
Just
no,
look it in.
I'm just telling, I know it's there.
at the end of the break.
So anyway, so we need to schedule a date for the Audi board to deal with the Mohawk Golf Course. And I spoke with Augusta. I'd like to see a capital revitalization plan, and her and Jeff are working on that. And I would like to schedule a meeting with Brandy Oliveira, because there's the court funding of $250,000 we might be able to get to help with any capitalization at the golf course.
And
Yes.
also on that golf course, do you Ange know, how many, Native employees we have there at this time?
Yeah, we'll ask for that.
8.
8.
Whoa.
And some of the work is seasonal. They get laid off and because people don't golf in the winter months.
Yeah, no, but is there ever been a discussion at the table about renovating that golf course
Yeah.
so that we could utilize it during the winter? Because I thought when I was on council last time, we had discussed that,
Yeah.
to put some money aside to do some
Yeah.
renovation.
Yeah, so what we need to do, because that's board business, we have to discuss it at a golf course board meeting, because it's a corporation and they handle the affairs of the corporation. So we can't, we don't do the golf board business at the council meeting. There's a board meeting called to deal with it, and then that's brought to council.
So today is just about who we're gonna
Yeah,
schedule for these?
Yeah, it's about setting a date to meet with them.
Well, I
Oh,
think you
okay.
have to meet in order to officially appoint new people to
Yeah.
the board, right, Shelley? Correct.
So really what we should do is rescind the old appointees and then
They've already signed all the paperwork in order to resign from the board.
They have
The former
resigned?
council and David, you guys all did that on the they all did that on the 13th of December.
Okay,
But we need to have a meeting in order to officially get the rest of council onto that board.
yes.
Because right now, like, for example, I believe the golf board probably only has the 2 of you. So it's not really,
Yeah, so what we should do is appoint the members of council as the interim board. There should be a
And do we
resolution.
have to be on the board?
Well, till we get other appointees.
Oh, okay, because I'd like to see community members on.
So
that
really,
board,
that's the
not
first
us.
item of business that the board should be discussing is a posting for attracting members. Chris?
I believe the previous president was tasked about a year ago to come up with job
Well,
descriptions
let's not go
for the
into
new
all, let's
board.
not go into all
Well, I'm
that,
just
because
saying.
let's deal with where we're at
But what
today.
I'm saying is, when we do meet, we should have the information in front of us, so the council's not saying we should reinvent the wheel.
Well, really, what will have to happen is that the board, they will have to appoint a new president to be in charge of the affairs. And that's what will have to happen at a board meeting.
So in the interim, we're all on that board.
On the board, then there'll be an agenda set for a board meeting agenda, and then those will be items of business that we'll have to discuss at a board meeting. And it's recorded as a board meeting, because it is a corporation and they have legal authority over that, to run the golf course. It makes it a little confusing, because when the council is also the board of directors, you cannot commingle the council business with the board meeting, because it's a separate entity.
Mm-hmm.
Chris?
So we just need to set a date.
So when we
Set it
do
up.
get together for that briefing per se, I'm not sure if Derek Wong would be the person, but we need somebody, we need somebody to come to council and explain to us, as a board, you're sitting on these boards and you have money invested here, here, and here, and here's how much money you have invested here, and here's where the money came from, and here's where it's going. I've seen some disclosures, like a report.
No, but they have been given that, Chris said, with the.
I know, but I want to find out, and I missed the meeting apparently where it all happened, but I want to find out if we're paying 12% interest on a loan, how much are we making on the loan to make it worthwhile for us paying 12% interest on that loan? How much are we making? Because someone in the community, they ask a lot of questions about the golf course. I want to be in a position where community
Well, first of
members
all,
ask questions. I want a position to be able to answer them. And I've been waiting for a year and a half for all this to happen.
Well, anyhow, the council did act as a guarantor for bank loans, and so they have all of that information here at council.
All I'm saying is I think this council would benefit from having, at that first meeting, having someone who's been involved from the get-go, and whether it's that Derek Wong guy, I don't know, but come and say, okay, you have this company, this company, and this company. Here's how they were created. Here's how much skin you have in the game. Here's how it happened. So we know going into this, as a board member, oh, we have X amount invested.
But again, this is board business, and board business has to be discussed at board meetings.
right.
Because if we're going to take the board business external to the board, we need a motion of the council.
All I'm saying is
A
for,
motion of the board to make their business public, because that is their information.
I know, but I'm saying it's for the council to make well-informed decision. They have to be well-informed, and I found that after 2 years of my last council, I didn't know really what was going on with these businesses, and I was always told, you gotta raise it at the meeting. And then the meetings, they never happened. We never had board meetings. We had one in like a year, and we're still waiting on minutes from a year ago.
I have circulated the minutes to the board, and none of those minutes have ever been approved. I've been told that they are still under review. Because I've recorded those minutes and have distributed those minutes to all of the board members.
Yeah. So I'm just saying the council needs to be on top of this stuff moving forward. And like the chief shouldn't be taking all the note. The chief shouldn't be tasked with all that stuff.
He's the secretary of the board.
I know, but he was secretary in name, but he should not be buried doing that paperwork. He should be saying, somebody out there get this done so I can present it to the board. But he shouldn't be sitting here
Okay,
16
Chris,
hours a day doing that work.
we're doing board business at a council meeting to advertise their business, and we don't have the authority of the board to do that.
We're setting the agenda, and I'm saying for the board members to
But
be well
what's on the agenda
informed.
is simply to schedule a date to meet with the Yawadi board and Mohawk Golf Course to do that board business.
To at least appoint your board members.
And so all we need to do is appoint the board members so they can get on with dealing with the things that you're raising at council.
So
And
can
put,
we
and call Augusta and get it put on the agenda for the board meeting.
look at that in February or March?
Okay, what time?
February? Not Thursday.
One thing I can tell, I'd like to clear up the Mohawk Golf Course, and I brought it up at the community meeting, they did make a $30,000 profit last year.
Nice.
Well, it's good to say it, but sometimes I think what the biggest problem with the people at that was Canada meeting was they never got to see it.
And I also had asked the board to make a report to the community about what was going on, so the community would have some information. No motion was made at the board meeting to do that.
So we
But
need to
that
have a
has to
golf
co-
board meeting.
But that
So
has
we need
to,
hurry
but,
up and
but
have
public
that golf
information.
board meeting to get those things.
Yeah,
on
and the
so
other
we can
thing,
get things
the other thing, you know, because it is a competitive business, sometimes
Yes,
they
it
don't want,
is.
they don't
So
want
we
the
have to be
other,
on top of
the
it.
other golf courses to know all their business. And the other golf courses don't publish all of their business.
Okay,
Because
so
if you, because I mean, they
today
have
is to
competitors.
Schedule the meeting, let's schedule the meeting, let's get on with it, and let's get at that meeting and
Yeah.
get things going.
So
What day
sometimes
would you
if they're,
like
if
to-
they're
what
looking
day
at
are you
buying,
free?
I feel that the community has a right to know whether other golf courses get wind of what's going on or anything like that. That's none of our concern. We take care of our golf course and let them worry about theirs. But I think that our community has to be informed of things that's going on, because the golf course isn't for council. It's for everyone. It's for
Yeah.
the whole community. So the community has to be aware of,
but there again, Chris, it is the board of directors, that it's their information, and the board of directors at one of their meetings must decide what information is going to be public. That is not my role as the chief or the secretary to do.
Absolutely.
There has to be a motion of the board.
So let's set a date, then we can talk about all the golf course things, because we obviously have lots of things to talk golf course, but we have to do that not as council, as golf course board.
Yeah,
So-
it's when there's a duly golf course board meeting, that's when the business of the golf course is discussed. And the board is accountable to the council, then it comes to the agenda.
Okay,
But
so what date are
the
we
council
looking at?
doesn't preempt a board meeting, because there's staff that work there, there's financial staff that work there that have to give information to the board so that you are informed.
So what date are we looking at, Chief?
So, well, first of all, let's appoint the board, make a motion to appoint the current council members.
We're gonna have to have meetings in order to appoint it, from my understanding.
No, they should be appointed, who are the members of these boards, the interim members.
Right, you should do that at a board meeting.
That's what I thought too. We did it.
There are
at a-
council
It's a board
appointees.
meeting business, you said.
There's resolutions that have to be signed by each individual member under the board.
So why, if this is board business, why is it on the council
It's
agenda?
just so you guys can set a meeting, so that way you can
So we can do all that stuff.
appoint the board members.
So we're just looking for a date today.
February 20th. Wait, when's our next council meeting? It's the 7th or the 5th and the 21st? Are those the regular meetings?
For January?
February. Or
Oh, we're in
January is
February now?
pretty.
February is the 5th, is the council day.
The 5th and the 21st.
Yeah.
So how long do you think those meetings usually take? Is it like
A couple of
full day thing?
hours.
Couple of hours?
Couple of
Okay.
hours.
Yeah, I think a couple hours.
So do you want to do that right after the council meeting then? We can just let them know when to come in on February the 5th?
Is that okay? Can we do that?
We can.
Like just switch from being council to,
What? Who that Sherry Wise? She said as soon as possible. Sherry Wise from, I think she does the solar. Solar? Let me just find her message, chief. Sherry Wise.
if we can add it
She sent
on.
me an email and copy Shelley and Cecil just saying, please advise the name and contact information for the person who will be replacing David on the board. We need a number of legal documents required to process this change, which will generate and provide to you once we have the name for legal purposes.
So can we add it either after the council meeting on the 5th or before the local business one, which is the 14th?
Let's shoot for 3 o'clock on the 5th.
Yeah.
Do you need to move? Does mine need to move over there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to have that meeting with the Mohawk Golf Course Board on the 5th at 3 p.m.
And Yote,
in Yote.
because that's where you have to appoint the board members, from my understanding.
Is that what the Mohawk Golf Course Board is called? Yote?
Course Board
Or what is the Yote?
Separate boards.
Two separate boards?
and Yote.
Yote is the one that's actually I believe there's what, 3 of them? Shelley?
There are.
That's,
The umbrella, and then under that, it will be solar and it will take
wind.
Wind. And so really
Okay.
what the board does, it's a revenue stream. You just oversee to make sure the agreement is being performed the way it's written, that the money is going into the bank account. And then usually what happens is the board will make a motion to transfer that money from the
Well, you don't
bank
need to do
account
that
to the
now.
band.
Oh, yeah, maybe the board has to do that.
The
but
board
that
has to do
money
that.
Actually, when it comes to us, is for Ecden
Yeah.
Corporation.
So then it has to come, that board has to transfer that money to the band.
But the Sherry Wise is looking for who's replacing.
And the reason
Well,
being,
David, I believe, was the president of them. which
He's
is
the
why
president
he's
of all
on
of them.
board. So once you guys
was,
appoint your board, yes, was. It's all, he's been removed. Which is what Sherry Wise is asking for. She wants to know who to replace because there's documents that have to be completed in order to sign.
okay, then I guess you should come to the meeting as well, Angela, because you're the acting CEO, to see if they want to appoint you. And
I have to be the acting president?
well,
There's
if
so
the
much
board,
going
if the
on
board,
right
if the
now,
board
I don't know
appoints
what to
you,
do.
if the board appoints you to the acting president, it will be up to the board meeting decision. Chris?
Yeah, Ange, do you know offhand if the posting for the CEO position, does that include being the president on these boards? Because I recommend to
has that
council
answer, I
that,
think.
In one of the Yale's board minutes, there's a motion that says the CAO, Melissa Bailey, will be the president of the Yale board.
Okay.
And when we did that motion, David had an entire account. It was, he hadn't started. So there was a motion to say the CAO will be the president.
Okay.
So that's what the CAO did.
so I just said something for council to consider. Do you want your CAO involved over there too? Because I found that my last council experience is that person got spread too thin. You know, you're the CAO one thing, all of a sudden now you're the president over here, another thing. Well,
And
if
that's
you're in
just
charge
it.
of everything.
Her plate is already full.
Only because I'm doing both jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we should ask the acting CEO.
Well, really,
It's her that wants that.
really, when you get a board who's not the chief and council, there should be a liaison person from council to these boards. I agree with that. But once you get the appointees involved, I did put forth a number of names that might be considered by asking people would they serve on these boards, because sometimes people don't want to serve on boards. You
I'm
can
interested to
advertise and then you don't
see-
get anybody volunteering to serve on the boards.
And I was of the understanding that once we get the ECDEP corporation set up, that would take over all that.
Yeah, that's my
And
understanding.
handle and be on the boards and get people on the boards and stuff like that. It wouldn't be council. That's
Yeah.
how I understood
But
it.
right now, this has been long-standing business that's unresolved, and really the council and what happens in terms of the accountability, there is a legal principle called piercing the veil. So whatever the council's involved in, they are accountable to the people if they're involved as members of council. If you're coaching a hockey game that's in your personal capacity or sitting on some other committee like the fair board, that those are not band organizations. So that's simply a volunteer work, or if you're on the recreation committee that.
So just to straighten it up. So we're council, but we sit on the golf course board, not as council.
Yeah, you're sitting there as a director of a corporation.
Okay.
But
So I'm interested to see, like, when we do have the meeting, just if there's any legalities around that, or if it seems kind of,
well, the reason why the council sets it up on an interim basis, because they have to form the corporation because it is a band empowered entity.
right.
And so, but the council doesn't stay on that board. The council then is expected, after the corporation is set up, then to appoint, to see the other people other than council is appointed to run the day-to-day operations.
So we'll do that on the 5th then. We'll talk okay. All right.
But they are still ultimately accountable to the band because it's a band empowered
Right.
corporation.
It just seems like crossing too many swords.
The council forms a corporation to get the ball rolling, to get the legal structure in place, but then once it's in place, then the council's supposed to step back and let.
All right.
We're in flux. That's how I
FNTI was similar. FNTI formed, the council formed that corporation, and then eventually other people became the directors. So can we have a motion then to have February the 5th at 3 p.m. for those dates for the golf course board?
Yep, I'll motion.
And Aaron
I'll second it.
and Chris Brandt. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Peter Brandt, Capel, Ferry Lane Cottages. Is Todd in today?
Todd was not in today, but I can get Pete if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Right back.
Now this is, and Lisa, if she's here. Or Amzie, I'd like to know who owns these lots. Like, are they all band members now, or are some of them leasing?
I have that question.
Are they
as well.
cottage leases? Are they permanent homes, or are they cottage leases? No, Clarence Green did offer to transfer that lane to the band, but I see they're looking at an easement here.
Chief, do you know, is the funding in place, that $1 million?
Well, obviously, we're going to have to lobby the government because I don't think we have budget for this project. But
In the briefing note, it said it would be requested out of RAMA,
yeah,
but there is no funding for it right now.
so we'd have to. This would be one of the issues that we would talk to Nico Paul about. Is this capital need? But I want to find out more about this. I think what's happened. There used to be non-natives leased that land for cottages. There were McCutcheons, Petoskey's. There was Sherman's, there were McCutcheon, Hudson, and a Jewish name on the end there.
I guess my concern is, politically speaking, spending $1 million to service 4 or 5 cottages, the optics, when we need
Well,
water and
well,
sewer in the community, and all of a sudden we're servicing
Okay,
cottages.
But what's happened though, some of those cottages have now become permanent homes for band members. I know that's happened. So I just need to know how many of these people now are year-round residents by our band members.
That's, I'd like to know how many of them are band members.
Is it normal practice for the band to pay for having sewer?
Well, the problem that you
Added?
have
I
right now,
would
there's
think so.
an environmental issue there because the septics are way too close to the bay.
So is that normal practice for that to be the band?
Well,
that-
at the time when these septics were put
Pays
in, there
for
there
that?
wasn't really much regulation that there is.
It's going back a long time.
So,
before
Peter,
I was-
maybe you know and maybe you don't know. So we have to lobby for this $1 million for the water line for the Ferry Lane Cottage, but there's also, I think there's 2 connections along Ferry Lane. Is there the Doreen House and the Cindy, she used to be Cindy Daw.
Yeah, my understanding, right now, we got requests for the 6 cottages along the lane.
Okay, but
And,
are they cottages or have some of them turned into permanent homes now? Because I
I'm sure
understand,
they're in the process of rebuilding, I believe, some of them.
because the Petoskey House, those people live there year round and they are band members. So I don't know how many of those other places are people are living there that are band members, living there year round.
Yeah, that's.
Is it one person who owns the whole
No,
property?
no, it was, I'm sorry. There was,
I did see your briefing note and it had a few, I wasn't sure if the request just came from one or if it was
no, there
everybody.
there was the one on the corner, Shelby List.
Yeah, she used to be Cindy Daw.
And then there were, we
That's her
had-
daughter.
I'm sorry?
Shelby Lisk is Cindy's daughter.
Okay, and then there were, I believe there were a couple other ones that were looking at, requesting water and sewer, to be able to tie into. Now, my understanding, when we had originally talked, I thought that they were looking at rebuilding, down there, and I know Shelby is. And that's why she was kind of inquiring as
And so
to-
she owns that lot now, right?
I believe so.
Okay,
That would be a lands thing.
can you find out from Lance how many of
Yep.
these people are band members? That are these all owners of this property, or are some of them leasing still from Clarence and Debbie and Susan? Because I see Clarence and his family still own the laneway.
Yeah, I think they sold, they're the ones, that my understanding, they sold it off to each of the individual people that had purchased, but I will confirm.
Well, then
that
if it's
she
been
could-
sold off, then if it's been sold off, there's no leases there then, cottage leases. They're all CP.
I'll verify. Yeah, that's.
So verify if they're all CP holdings, because there never was, from what I recall, a survey. They just, other than Uncle Tech had put stakes in the ground and said, this is where you're leasing from, but I don't think there was any legal survey.
Okay.
To find out if they might have done that after and got CP, had
Yeah.
the Candyland surveyors subdivide it, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah, no, I will double check, most definitely, I'll check with lands.
Check with them if you can let us know, so we'll defer this one.
Oh, I have some more questions too while Pete's here.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wondered if is it a normal thing for the band to cover the costs of like sewer upgrades and changes like that if they're individual people's homes?
The sewer is new,
So
right?
we would have to add it, so would it be,
On my end, from being here, we've only started the project on the North Street, that has just been that was awarded last year.
And there will be sewer there.
There were 2 homes on there, that was both water and sewer, but basically, we've only had just a water aspect for the
Yeah.
project going through.
If there's sewer services available, then they put both in. Water and
Well, we
sewer.
would, and we would, yes, again, similar to York, or to North Street.
Yeah,
right,
so-
both services, Ferry Lane has both water and sewer, down to the bottom.
So that's really just an extension of the
It
existing
is,
services.
yes, basically, this would be an extension down the, further down, to pick up 2 cottages at the very end of Ferry Lane that were never serviced originally with the original construction, plus the new homes that, again, under my understanding, is that they were purchased.
Okay, if you can get more
Yep.
clarity for this, that
I
what
got
we're,
clarity.
but it would be normal for that to be then covered by band, okay? That's what I wondered, I just wondered
Yeah,
if like,
sorry.
is this a new thing, or if I
Yeah,
wanted sewer or something? But that's a normal
We-
thing, it's there and it would be normal to extend
We
it.
would try to, yeah, whatever services would be available, we would try to extend any and all.
and the reason for is the impact on the bay from septics being too close to the water.
That's correct, yeah, right now, they'd like to, like I say, I think there was about 3 of them that we were talking with that we're looking at tying into the water, whether they're gonna build or not. And again, with the lots being so small, there's just not a proper, they're not really even the new construction code
It doesn't,
size for,
wells and septics, it doesn't meet public health distance
that,
standards.
there's just a lot of factors break down by the bay.
So they can't do a well or septic, so it would tie into that
So
existing.
there really is an environmental and public health issue with the way it is now.
Right,
There's not enough room to have a septic,
right.
right, even with our water. So basically, you'd have to have like a holding tank and have pumped out.
And they don't, they have
Like,
septics.
Right now, I don't think there's any, I don't even know what, because there's no water, they just have a well. I
They
think some
have,
of them are shoreline
some- well,
wells.
some of them had wells and septic systems, and some of them had an outdoor privy, and some of them in a well, so there was a combination there at one time. I don't know what it is now,
Yeah, well, that's, yeah.
because that, originally they were just cottage leases from April to November.
So Clarence owned all those and he sold them to band members.
That's my understanding.
That's what.
So some of them,
That's
I
what
don't,
just, Shelley just went and confirmed with Lance.
they have sold all of those lots to
Clarence
vendors,
has sold the lots to band members.
all of them.
So they would eventually, the goal
There's
would be
no,
to
there's
have
no
everybody on the
non-native
reserve
still
on
in
water
cottage
anyway,
leases.
right?
That's, yes. yes.
No,
So
there's
it
no
would be a part of
non-native
it.
still leasing any land for, under a cottage lease.
That's not what was told, right, Shelley?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then I guess they're all band members, and we've clarified that. If you can give us the detailed map of who owns each of these parcels of land, because when we go to lobby, I want to clarify that with the department.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that.
So I guess the plan going forward, then, if we can get money from the department to build this system, then we will do it. Is the council agreeable to that? We'll lobby for the money. If it can be done, it can be done. It will deal with public health, and it will deal with the environmental issue. And there is capacity with the town under that
Yes.
expanded servicing agreement, right?
Yes.
I'm curious on, so it's non-native, or it's native that has bought the land itself, but are they renting it out are they staying there themselves and using them as cottage, or are they renting them out to non-natives off the reserve?
I can't answer 100%. My understanding for these ones down here, though, is that they intend to build, rebuild, and live there themselves.
And
That's
so
my understanding.
who's talked to these people?
We've had a couple of meetings, chief. There's Todd, myself, and there, like I say, I think there was three. There was Shelby, Lisk, there was a Peterbach,
I know they're band members.
and then there was another. I can't think of the other person's name right off the top of my head. I know we had a couple of meetings with them, and they're just checking in to see the status of design and council approval or acceptance of this year. So.
Okay, and I guess with the building lot size policy, do those lots, are they big enough to build a house on?
They
If there's water and sewer?
They're not they are actually, it's in my note there, chief, I think they are, I think they're a little under even for a service lot.
Yeah, because if there's water and sewer there, you don't need to have as big a lot, but if you're on a well
No,
and
there's still a
septic.
minimum, 80 foot, right, there's still a minimum. You just bear with me here, I'm just trying to think, service lot,
80 feet?
minimum frontage is, 65 meters. An unserviced lot is 75 meters. No, yes.
Just check it out, Peter, I don't expect you to pull it out.
Sure, yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't even bring it, I should have brought in my full folder there, because I had all
But
that.
anyway, just verify those questions that council's raised today at the meeting, then get back to us.
Okay, so that was the size of the lotting, make sure it's big enough
That it
to
complies with the policy, or does council have to do a variance to allow those people to build there?
build, oh, okay.
So is council prepared to do that if there's water and sewer?
And that they're used for themselves rather than as a, whatever, like a money-making scheme type of ordeal. I mean, it's more and more.
So is the
It's
intent of
happening
these
more and
people?
more that the reserve or the members from the community are building houses and not renting out to the native people, people from here. and we're talking about the shortage of housing, you know, and then all this is happening where they're using it to, you know, I feel that we should start to get back to stop renting to non-native and rent to people that are from here. So that's just my opinion. Yes.
Yeah.
We need a
absolutely.
bylaw, and we need a bylaw enforcement officer and a court, a prosecutor, and a court take it. Because unless you have those other two components, then it's just words on paper. And
We
that
can work
weakens
on
the
that. That's a
governance on
different-
all the,
In
Thank you.
all of,
That's
all
it.
of
and all
that,
the
I
reserves in
think,
Canada
is
because of that slacking.
And with that, right, we can inquire, but they're gonna say, well, it's for us, and then how do we,
Yeah.
right? But it's just one of them where I think the,
Yeah.
like a policy or bylaw would definitely help in those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I
really-
think it'll be good to know too, just maybe all of the aspects of that, because if they do plan to, there's buildings on them now, but they plan to demolish them and rebuild. And are the lots actually big enough to do that and accommodate do we have any rules around that? Can you build a house on?
So anyway.
Well, that's the other, I think the other thing also is
You
that-
can, you can, you don't have to have a house that's, let's say 40, 50 foot wide.
Right.
You know, you can have.
Okay, so
wider,
it would be
but
okay to
then
build
longer,
on it.
Well, the
There's
only
always
thing,
ways.
the only thing when you have policy, then the staff have to look at the policy and the recommendations they're making to council. Or they're gonna have to say, if you're gonna go ahead and give them a mortgage to put up a house there, the lot isn't big enough, it doesn't comply with policy standards, then they will ask the council to give a variance to that policy for that to go ahead.
And that's for, what about people that you have their own money though, cheap, right, find that they don't come here at
Yeah.
all, and they just do
Yep.
what they want. So that's. another-
Well, again, bylaws have to be developed to deal with all that, and right now.
Yeah, no, I'm just, that's
Yeah.
the other part of it, right?
True.
Chris?
Just questions.
So we're talking once again zoning, etc. I'm gonna put a motion on the floor for the next council agenda. We discuss the AI 40 to 50K we've been sitting on for a couple of years pertaining to lawmaking.
I don't think that money, I thought I had to go back.
No, we were hemming and hawing, and staff had an idea how to do that, and then some of us were saying, no, let's talk
But if
about.
it didn't get spent, I had to go back, I believe.
Check with Cecil, let's not guess at it, let's check with Cecil to see if the money's still here. And if, I don't know if it can be deferred or not, but again,
Actually, wasn't that the money, that might even been the money that helped offset the council expenses for that year.
I don't know, I don't
I'll
know,
double check that. but
because we haven't got the
I
audit
don't think that
yet.
there's money sitting there.
Well, council didn't authorize sending it back.
No, but you can't keep the money forever. You have to
Yeah,
get on with
sometimes
the
you don't
work you're
have a choice.
doing, or else they claw it back. It doesn't just sit there waiting and wondering if council's gonna do anything with it. You have to move along. If you get money, you should know what you're gonna do with it.
Well, it was tabled to put it towards these items that we talk about every week. Every
Well,
council
we'll
we talk
check the,
zoning,
we'll
and then
check,
we-
Chris, the minutes to see what the direction was from council. So let's check to see if there was a motion directing staff to do certain things with that money, and if so, what happened? That'll be an action item. So then if you can get the extra clarity on those issues, Peter, that council's requested this morning.
Yep.
Now, should we defer this today, or can you get that back for this afternoon?
Well, for the most part, I should be able to get most of it back to you this afternoon.
And don't forget, Chief, you said you wanted to be done by 2.
Yeah, okay, we'll just set that aside for now, then we'll come back to it. While Peter looks into the other issues. Okay,
11:20.
Okay, we might have to hurry. I got another meeting at one, project meeting at 1:00 as well, so.
So it might be better just to put it on the next agenda. Give
Defer it,
Steve
okay.
time to get the information we need.
Sorry, what time is it now? Sorry?
20 after 11.
Peter, there's 6 lots on the Ferry Lane.
On yeah, on the bay side, yeah. I provided a map there, just, with
Yep. It's right in there.
on the, which identifies.
Oh, I know that line really.
Yeah, no, I just, that way, at least it shows shows who, the 6 lots there, and then kind of the 2 that we're also looking at that haven't been, that weren't serviced really in, with the original water and sewer that we have now.
the other thing is a lot of members, there's not really a lot of land to buy. to build a house on, so some people are stuck with building on whatever they own. There's that issue too. So can we have it's been suggested by Councillor Linda that we defer this to the next meeting. Is that a motion, Linda?
Yes, it is.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yep,
I'll second.
it.
Aaron? Anyone opposed? Okay, the item is deferred to the next council agenda. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Hydro One connections, this requires, Hydro has changed their policy.
Thank
They
you.
require a connection for 37B Old York Road, 8085 Old Highway 2, 167 Upper Slash Road, 543 Wyman's Road. Motion to pass the resolution for these hydro connections.
I just have a question. Is this a new thing that you have to?
Yeah, because they're doing work on the reserve and it has to be authorized. The other thing is that there's been an issue where a pole or some kind of work was done on the road allowance and the band didn't know about it, so they raised the issue. So Hydro One wants a resolution so that this kind of mix-up doesn't happen, because apparently it cost Hydro quite a bit of money to fix whatever was done. With banners are just making their own arrangements, so they want something authorizing the band to do this work.
And I believe they said that this was the process and they got away from it, but now they want to get back to it. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but
So they just need a motion to go ahead and
no, they
make
want
their
a council
connections?
resolution.
Oh, a councilor resolution to,
To approve these.
You need a
hookups.
resolution for each of these hydro, it used to be done like that anyway.
okay.
The council always knew what work Hydro was doing on the reserve, so we didn't have to get caught in the back
But I don't know
flack
if
of,
we actually have to do resolutions.
yeah, but it is an MCR.
But now they want council resolutions, and I believe there's sign off on a plan as well that's in there, unless it's specific community members. and
Which
then
is,
that's
which is
what
how it
we
used to be. The drawings used to come to
Yep.
council would look at it to make sure it was accurate, and then the council would pass a resolution to sign it, whatever.
How do we know that it's accurate? Just out of curiosity, I wouldn't be able to look at a plan and know
Well,
if I'm a
usually
hole in
the
the ground?
director looks at it, and then it used to come to council, and if there was any concerns, they would discuss there, that if it's in the road allowance, they confirm it's in the road allowance. If it's on private property, then they confirm, make sure that band member is the owner of that property, that it's not encroaching on somebody else. Then you don't get involved in all these issues to sort out after the fact.
So that's already been done then, with all of these connections?
So we need a motion, Hydro, in order for these people to get Hydro wants to have MCRs, so it's a remover for all these MCRs. Do they have to be individual ones, or can be all together? All individual? Is there a motion?
Okay.
Moved by Chase. Do you want me to call you Chase or Ogwari? Ogwari?
I know, 'cause every time I call you.
I'll second it, Chief.
And Curtis? Okay, anyone opposed to the MCRs that are needed for the hydro connections? Motion is carried. Number 10. Rebecca Bartlett has been appointed the Chief Council appointment of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. It's again promotes tourism. Doug Stevenson is the executive director for this region. This is about tourism in the Quinte area. And Josh Hill sat on the board previously. They speak for the Mohawks of Bay of Quinte on topics that are before the board. The next meeting is January the 29th. It's hoped to have an MBQ member appointed by that time to be in attendance at the meeting. And there's a December 12th, their document requesting me appoint a representative. So Josh Hill was set on this board, this regional marketing board. Is there, we give a contribution to this board once a year. What's the amount we give, Angela? I can't remember.
Is it like
Is it 2,000 or 5,000?
30, for some reason, 32.95 jumped in my head, but I don't know if that's the
I can't
number.
remember.
It's in that range though, right? 39?
Okay, so it's about an appointment on the board. Do you wish to continue having an appointment on the board? If so, do we have any volunteers?
Okay,
Chris?
Yeah. Chief, just to ensure some continuity and make sure it's not disjointed and council is informed, I recommend that either a counselor or a staff person, if it is a staffer, be an act dev related person, be on this board. and it kind of ties back into
Okay.
where the county was going, so maybe it ties into this gentleman over here possibly being
Yeah.
on that.
Well,
if he's interested.
again, when you go to the meeting, then you should give a report or ask for the minutes at the other board meeting and share it with the council and.
Did I read on this one that this is one that Rebecca sits on as well? So she sits on it and a counselor?
Yeah, the high level, the high table, though, the board is the regional marketing board. And then, of course, the staff that work on these recommendations for the board to approve, bring that to the board. But I think they meet quarterly.
Technical, technical support people, basically.
So is there a volunteer for the board?
Okay.
I can do it.
Gwari?
I'll move that, chief, if you need a mover.
I'll second it.
So it's Chris and Aaron. Sometimes these committees are pretty dry, but you know, if there's ways to work in network to promote tourism, then do that. Motion is carried. Permission to harvest, Daryl Ricard. And the recommendation from the staff is to sign the letter and return to Stephen for delivery. And in there, you have their VIN numbers, their status card, their. We do tell them that they have to get permission if they're going to, any activity is going to take place on private property to avoid trespass charges, because there are band members that do not want people on their property without their permission. In the past, with fishing, some people have had their property rutted, they've had their fences damaged, their gates broken down. Sometimes they've engaged in quarrels with the band members that own that property, and this is just not a good way to operate. Nobody should be bullied around on their own property.
How are we ever going to, we do get, as you're stating, we do get members from other communities asking for permission, but what are we going to do about all of those members from other communities that just come and I do know about even people from other communities setting nets in front of active rivers that our community members found out about it and pulled the nets out of there. Like, how can we ever, you know, I'm one for going hunting and fishing in other places, but asking for permission from those communities.
Yeah.
Because I want to try to do things, let's say, the proper way.
Yeah.
I know we do have a right, but how can we control?
Well, the police have intervened in some of those cases. There was, somebody very elderly in the community, a very respected member, we're not mentioning names, but, they should not have to have these kind of encounters with somebody bullying them on their own property. Like, if somebody's firing a gun around their house in the night, or there's people that they don't know, all of a sudden there's flashlights, they don't know who's around. Like simply asking permission, because then they probably would give them permission if they wouldn't damage their property and they knew who was there.
Exactly.
Because people are worried if there's strangers around their places at night.
Absolutely. There was an
there is
application that he applied for and submitted it here with MBQ.
So I did
saying
call.
where he wanted to hunt and what he wanted to do.
I
Is
did
that
call
what you
the.
mean? Yeah.
When
I know
I
of some that do,
And some don't.
because I'm
and so the other thing
Yeah.
is that people shouldn't be intimidated to think that that they have to put up with that, because if they don't, then they're going to come back and do more damage to their property, and that's a bullying that should not be. Like, the people who own that property worked hard to buy it, and their homes are there and it's theirs to manage, and there's nothing wrong with asking for permission, and if they want to fish there, and I'm sure if they asked and were polite and they knew when they were going to be there that they'd open the gate. But when you just break down the gate and drive all over and leave ruts, and there's traffic all hours of the night, then you throw all your garbage there or leave stolen cars there, all this stuff, it's just not acceptable. And so I did call some of the chiefs of the other reserves where I reported to me that some of these people had come from, and I just said, this is not acceptable here. You speak to your members.
So is like going forward, would it be a bylaw thing or involving the police thing?
Well, the other thing that's happened is that in the way the politics is in the community, some people said the reserve is for all of the Six Nations. And on April the 1st, 1793, when the executive order in council was passed granting the Simcoe deed, there was another document that says it was for the people who settled at the Bay of Quinte. So you have to look at it in the context in which all of that took place. And there is another document besides the Simcoe deed that clarifies passed on the same day, it's for the Indians who settled at the Bay of Quinte.
I think it's respectful.
And
for
that's
them
where
to
this
have
comes from. That's for
submitted
all
this.
of the Six Nations, and all Six Nations can come from anywhere, anytime, and do all the exercise, all these rights. But just because you have a right doesn't mean that there's no laws that govern how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they usually do is they usually cut the nets if they're blocking the fish from spawning. They take those nets out of the river, and if they want to fish, then they have a net. They put it in the bay, but they don't. We can't have them preventing the fish from spawning. And some fish around Forester's Island, they go over there and fish too. And the hunting, night hunting shouldn't be allowed.
No matter what.
No matter
hunting
what, that
should
shouldn't be
not
allowed. And you're not supposed to discharge a high-powered rifle, south of I think it's the 401. And so because there's a lot of, it's a built-up area, it's dangerous. Somebody could be shot in their house.
I think for this particular request, it looks like it's been honored in the past before, and I am supportive of the request and the application. But going forward, I do have questions around like our stipulations and limitations, and just for like preservation of the land and the wildlife, and for our own community members here, if we should consider putting limitations or stipulations or that kind of thing on people who come from other communities.
Well, the other thing, it's not enforced, but there still is an active bylaw about fishing that says you get fish from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 12 o'clock at midnight. And there's a limit that you can take daily, because these rivers have capacity issues.
There's no one ever abides by that.
Well, see,
Because, and
they used to.
They used to, when there was when we appointed, or when there was game wardens that were at the different areas of fishing. But now the fishing, especially the fishing, not so much hunting anymore, but the fishing, it goes, Moira River in Belleville, Trent River in Trenton, Consacon River, and there's the harvesting in all of those places, but nothing is monitored. And sure, we do have the right to harvest, but we should also have that right to have, and even if it's hire young members to be at these places with pails and spawn these fish that are being harvested to put them
That
back.
did happen back
You
in the
know,
day
if
when we
we're
first
taking-
started fishing. That's what we had to do. That was our law.
If we're taking from
You're
the
taking
nature,
from, you
why
have to
not
put
give
back.
back,
Exactly.
to keep that fish around? So
Linda, make sure you have your microphone closer to your mouth. They may not be able to hear
I'm
you.
loud.
Okay.
I think there's
They
a
can hear
position that
me.
they usually hire for. I think it's like a part-time term position. Is it a game warden, or
We've
was it the
hired game wardens. Did we hire game wardens this
traditional
past?
harvester?
Angela,
And
did-
that might be
We do
part,
have- we hire
yeah,
them.
that might be part of their
We
job
don't
description.
hire like a whole slew of them.
Right,
We
only a
have-
couple.
I don't know. Shelley, do you remember how many was last?
We used to have 7 or 8 of them.
Two? I thought it was 4.
I think we need more than two.
Right.
Exactly.
We honestly,
Right.
we might need two at the Shannonville River, the Salmon River. Two in Napanee for the Napanee River, two in Belleville for the Moira River, two per each, so that and then also for those harvesters to try to pass on what we as the council and the community should be doing, is putting back into the river.
Like what I did see, I do walk along the Napanee River. I did see they have signs posted way up where you can't reach them to tear them down. That it's during when the pickerel opens up on May the 1st is when people can fish there. So really, they don't respect that we have the right to spear in that river. It's been done, and the MNR doesn't enforce it, but it does, they still don't recognize the right. Go ahead. So I've got a call with the deputy minister about the need to recognize our rights, because our rights to hunt and fish were supposed to be guaranteed with the when they signed the Treaty of Fort Stanwix, and all the rest of the country beyond the Allegheny Mountains was reserved as the Indians' hunting grounds.
There's
The
never,
Indian
there's
country.
never any issues with the OPP or the MNR when we
No,
are, because I am one that goes
Yeah.
to the Napanee River, and it's all, you know, what I'm looking at more so is not the harvest of the fish, but putting back into, and us taking the initiative to appoint somebody or those that are willing to go out to the river, and we compensate them for the small deed that they're doing, which is going to be big in the long run.
Okay, so really, there's a need to teach the younger generation about these practices, because right now they just think, you know, the right is there, and it's sort of the wild, wild west. You just go wherever you want, whenever you want, do whatever you want. But actually, there can be, like I know about safe hunting and stuff like that, about getting their pal. They used to have courses here like that. I think Cubby used to teach them in Larry Hay about hunting and stuff like that.
Ed Miracle does that now.
Ed does that stuff, but that, and they're doing that on some of the reserves, to teaching good practices in hunting and fishing and traditional harvest, and that might be something the council might want to consider making available here.
We could even work that into Point Mohawk at some point too, is teach the ones coming up the proper way to do stuff too.
Yeah, and that'd be a great thing too for the youth council
Yeah,
to
for the
also
youth.
initiate.
Yeah. So
So going back to this,
milking the fish and all
do we
that.
need you had something
Sorry,
to say?
yeah.
Traditionally, we've always had money every year for so-called game wardens. Building upon what you're saying here, we don't call them game wardens anymore because it's a farce. So on the traditional teaching, putting back, can we not pass a motion to move forward, and for this year, this spring, have the young people you're talking about? You're not a game warden. You're here to milk. Because you can't enforce nothing anyways. You're gonna wait till midnight and get
Okay.
1,000.
So because we had records of what our people took, that were what were called game wardens at the time, when M&R tried to put the Mohawks out of the bay, and we had to go to fight with Stephen Hunter, was the judge that overseen that discussion with the Ministry of Natural Resources. When zebra mussels came up into the bay, they tried to say that it was Mohawk overfishing that caused the depletion of the pickerel stock, and actually it was zebra mussels. They didn't know a lot about zebra mussels then, and because we had harvesting statistics of how much our people took from they couldn't make that allegation stick, and so M&R backed away from that table, because I said it's about the exercise of our rights. Like, we have rights that need to be accommodated and respected and recognized, and they were trying to basically deny that we had any fishing or hunting rights here, that we were basically newcomers from New York.
I think that's a really good thing to bring up, and I think it's something that we should talk with HR about, if we can incorporate that into their job descriptions when they do those postings, or if it is already in there, we can just check and see. But to have about the milking, to add that to the wardens, or what was it called again? Traditional harvesters. Yeah,
Monitors.
it might be. Yeah. Yeah. So fantastic.
Two of them.
But my
Yeah.
point is that we need a lot more than just two.
Yeah,
We
because we
should
only
have
do
two
a
at
few
each
places.
major river, and just by having them there will also teach those coming in, this is what we have to start doing, rather than just taking from the nature. One female could lay up to like 1 million babies, a million eggs, whether they take or not. As far as being in a river is much different than being spawning in the bay. The percentage of us milking these fish is about 97 to 98% of those eggs actually take when you put them back into the waters. Where it's in the river, when they're spawning naturally, the percentage is only like 15 to 17%, because the water takes the egg away so fast that they're not fertilized by the male. So the actual spawning of these fish in the river gives it a better percentage for the spawn. And I know because I grew up doing this. I've done this my whole life,
Absolutely.
you know, so I know offhand like how it works.
What were you gonna say, Ange?
I was gonna say, we've applied for money every year, and that's what we've used the money for specifically was for traditional harvesters, which is why it's only been 2. There's nothing to say that council can't reallocate resources from RAMA or whatever to hire more. It's just we were only operating within the money that we got approved for.
So I think that's maybe something we can add
From
to,
Corda, I believe it's where we get that money from.
yeah,
It's
another
so-
agenda
it's-
to talk more
It's so
about before
important
they
to
do that in
myself.
spring.
I'd be willing to give up my own money to hire somebody to do this. It's so important.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, back to the agenda then. I guess, are we going to grant Daryl Ricard permission to hunt on the reserve? In our traditional territory?
Moose Creek.
Moose Creek.
He's from Moose Creek.
Moose Creek.
Oh, it's Moose Creek up northern.
And they do quite often give our people rights to go up and hunt moose up north or deer. So they do, usually the chief calls the chief of that community.
No.
It's in our traditional territory.
It's
Yeah.
not, oh,
It
okay,
says-
I know Daryl personally, and, yeah.
Greater
I would-
Napanee, Croydon, and Loyalist.
I would like to grant him permission because, I know this gentleman personally, and he's a great guy.
I agree. I
So
second
you're
it.
making a motion then, Chris?
I'm making a motion, yes.
I'll second it.
Anyone opposed?
No, but I do think that we should talk about
Yep.
establishing rules or limitations around it, even suggestions if we can't do rules because of bylaws, but, recommendations.
You
for-
should look at the existing harvesting bylaw.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Environment
Good point,
director.
Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley.
Chief, I want to make a motion
To do,
to invite, probably Megan be the best, but invite Megan or whoever appropriate staff to the next council meeting. And then Chris can elaborate a bit more, because I'd like to have us pass a motion sooner than later to move on what Chris is talking about. And it's only a rejigging of some titles and rejigging of the job descriptions for the harvesters, but the focus on what you're talking about.
okay, so then that'll be an action item then to invite Megan to the next council meeting?
Well, Shelley had just mentioned because we do have to have that half-day meeting with environment that we could
That will
talk
come
more
up.
about
in
that.
there.
Okay, I just don't want lost in the shuffle.
Right, absolutely. We can
Like
slap
this
it
is
right on
something-
that agenda.
Okay, as long as it's,
Okay, well then send an email to Megan to say that topic is to be brought up during that session. Or
During
to
what?
Todd.
During the session. with
During
her. Yep.
Todd's, she works in Todd's department, so during Todd's, they want to discuss the traditional harvest of fishing. And they should bring the bylaw that's never been rescinded. The fishing bylaw that's way back in the 1950s or something that's not been, we have 17 bylaws, so don't let people tell you that there are no bylaws. That is
Just
not true.
update it
They need updating.
very badly.
And supporting.
Well, you also need a
Support.
justice system or something.
And they also need
to-
an enforcement
Yeah,
mechanism.
enforcement.
Absolutely.
Because you can't just have game wardens going there to watch what everybody's doing and recording what people are doing. There needs to be a law to say,
Copies of those 17? Can you get copies?
Yeah, were they
At some
on
time?
that drive?
At some time?
I thought they were on the drive, but we can make sure that they are.
Awesome.
okay, the next item is the Iroquois General Assembly in Oneida on February the 7th and 8th. Now, normally the council all go to the General Assembly. Is council available to go on the 7th and 8th? If you're going to attend, let us know, so we can let them know and they can do their planning. 7th and 8th in February. So they discuss a number of topics, actually.
7 and 8?
7 and 8.
You know that.
And when do you have to know by?
Well, if you can get back to Amzie and Shelley, let them know so they can let
No,
them
I
know.
won't be.
Okay, Chris, is there anybody who wants to go if you're available? Curtis?
What item is that, Chief?
Item number 12. So Curtis, Linda, Ogwari. Do you want to go, Chris? So Chris is not available. Chris Brandt's not available. So I've got myself, Curtis, Linda, and
You already have a
Ogwari.
meeting or something, don't you? On the
There's
5th
a
and
bunch
6th?
of things on those. The 6th
Or
and
6th and
7th.
seventh.
The 7th and 8th. The
I
7th.
know,
and
but
8th.
don't you have a meeting on the 6th and 7th, or?
Yeah, that's why we changed
Yeah,
it.
the 6th
Sixth
and
and seventh?
6th and
In
7th.
Toronto, yeah.
You already have a meeting.
No, I think he changed the regular meeting for this.
To the 5th.
Right, to the 5th.
Then
because
I'm
you have another meeting.
I'm going to go to Oneida after 2 o'clock on the 5th.
On the
Or
7th.
whenever we're done that other golf course board meeting, I'll travel at nighttime.
But didn't you have a, was it
Yeah.
an approved thing? I thought there was something, that's why we moved the meeting from the 7th to the 5th, because you had a meeting somewhere.
Yeah, Oneida.
This,
In
Yeah.
Toronto?
Right,
Okay.
that's why we moved the Wednesday meeting.
Oh,
to
the
Monday,
AI
because we
Housing
had a meeting.
Symposium is in Toronto. Okay. Then the 7th and 8th General Assembly, we go from there to Oneida.
But you're missing the one day, obviously.
Well, if I just have to go to Toronto, I can do that late at night. That's not an issue.
I know, but you're still missing the first day of the Iroquois caucus meeting is what's gonna happen, right? Because you're already in the other meeting on the 6th and 7th, and
Well,
this meeting
well,
is.
AI, the housing symposium probably will be only one day on the 6th, and they'll go to Oneida for the 7th and 8th.
But they booked 2 days.
I don't think they'll have to resolve that conflict then, because they've got 2 meetings going on at the same time.
Well, not all of them belong to the Iroquois caucus.
But that is an AI housing symposium.
Right. And then there's the Iroquois caucus, which do not necessarily have the same people, the same First Nations. Right?
Right.
Because the Iroquois caucus is all the member Mohawk
Well, I'll go
communities.
to the symposium for the first day and then go to the Iroquois caucus the next day. Chris?
Chief, I no longer want to sit on the caucus personally.
Okay, well, that's coming up, okay? On the hunting, right?
On the
Harvesting.
7th, 8th caucus.
The Iroquois Caucus General Assembly.
This is the General Assembly. This is when they discuss the business of the caucus, not just hunting and committee.
Right. As I don't want to be the TMC rep. I don't want to be on.
Is there a reason, Chris, that you don't want to be on it?
Well, I believe they're just getting around to hiring a coordinator, chief. Like, I'm on an organization.
But the committee still should meet to discuss the issues that are before the committee. Does the committee meet?
Should and shall are two different things. And I
But
don't
do
want-
they meet was the question.
I think they try sometimes, and I miss one or two, but it's not a good fit for me. It might be a good fit for somebody else, but it
Okay.
just
All right.
doesn't fit.
So just send in a letter to resign from that committee then? Okay.
So for the Iroquois Caucus General Assembly, is it normal to have all of the counselors
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to
but
that
Usually the chief and the councillors go to the meeting.
from all of the places,
Yeah,
not just
all-
here?
all of them.
Okay.
Usually. Whoever's available goes.
Available.
Okay. And that's like a good thing that we should
So
all, I just
collectively,
want to
what
make
they're
sure.
doing is they're talking about issues that, well, there are issues for all over, but these are the Mohawk communities that work together.
And Oneida.
Okay.
And, Oneida, I guess, to address issues.
Okay.
But
There can
I
be
think-
border right issues, there can be taxation issues, there can be
there's been
the
hunting
lack
issues
of
and stuff
housing,
like that.
relationships with the other governments,
Harvesting.
pardon?
Harvesting.
Harvesting,
There's
there
been
can
hunting and
be,
fishing stuff, yeah.
But yeah, I just want, because I'm not sure what it is, so I just wanted to make sure it's the best use of time to have everybody.
It's almost like your political
And then it-
lobby
then-
group of
then-
AIAI,
Okay.
but it's actually for the Mohawk communities.
Right,
And
okay.
and sometimes there's internal quarrels within some of the communities, like
Shelley's trying to.
Gunnesadagi, which we don't get involved with. We never voice an opinion
Oral.
in the internal affairs of another community. That's not our place.
Other
Shelley?
than 3 p.m., in areas of the Mohawk.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. I'll take a peek at that, and then if I'm able to make it, then I will, but I just have to consult my,
Okay, so anyway, so
schedule.
those are the tentative ones. Well, the people have indicated interest are myself, Curtis, Linda, Awari, and Aaron. And they will confirm their availability to Amzie and Shelley, and they can let AII know who's attending. Because there's rooms have to be booked, and if you wait till the last minute, sometimes they have to pay a premium for the room and stuff like that. So let them know early if you're going to do it or not. But
I'll let her
they don't like
know by the
last
end of the
minute
week.
stuff. Okay, motion to approve those people's attendance.
I'll motion.
Chris,
I'll second.
okay, motion is carried. Business registrations. There's a new business registration for Bayshore Community Consulting. Brent Miracle will be, Brent, that would be John and Rena's son, will be operating it. It's a consulting business. Motion to approve? I'll move. By Wari
I'll second.
and Aaron. Anyone opposed? Would opposed, seeing none, motion is carried. Number 13. Number 14, business registration, Don T. Miracle. And that is Indigenous Awareness Training, Advising, Research, and Partnership Services. So it's more of a consulting type of business. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Chris Miracle,
I'll second.
Aaron. Anyone opposed? Moved by Chris, second by Aaron. Motion is carried. Number 15, business registration, next generation estimating consulting. The owner is Brian Brandt. It's a construction, sales, and estimating business. Motion to approve.
Motion, Chief.
Curtis
I'll second.
and Aaron. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Aboriginal Labor Force Development Circle, this here, so there's CRF funds for $1,170,706 for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024, and EI funding for $541,711 for the programs and services that they provide. This is the contribution agreement that Sam has sent over from ALFTC. Motion to approve to sign.
I'll approve the motion.
Second.
Linda and Curtis. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Number 17. These are legal invoices. To pay the above invoices, $2,438. This relates to human resources matters, $583, $424. Motion to pay these invoices.
I'll make the motion.
Aaron,
I'll second.
Ogwari. Anyone opposed?
They attached in there somewhere, chief?
We'll discuss what we want details. We'll discuss that in private, what they are.
Chief, or sorry, Chris, they're always in the folder. Like, we haven't changed anything from the past, but they're always in the folder in the private,
It's right at the
under
very,
the
very
private
bottom.
section, because we don't want to obviously raise things that.
Because it would name staff and stuff like that, and these are personal matters that are confidential. Alan Pratt invoice relating to the Culberson tract and surrender 24, $452, $1,729.50, and $653 related to Culberson.
Move.
Moved by Chris Miracle to pay,
A second.
and Curtis, or Chris Brandt. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. OKT law invoices, and this is regarding the election appeal from to the 2017 election, and also a child welfare matter. So $3,733.50 and $3,028 and $3,436. Motion to pay.
Motion, chief.
Moved by Curtis
I'll second, Chief.
and Linda. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Okay, there's a request here to consider approving the terms of reference for a proposed rental selection committee.
Would you like Tommy in here?
Bring Tom in.
Would you like him?
I'll do that in a few minutes.
What is this vote then?
To have a rental selection committee to approve the tenants.
Oh, yeah.
Because so the staff don't get accused of nepotism or favoritism or council, the same thing. So if there's a committee of both.
Yeah, I was,
But the problem is that there's confidential information there, so whoever is in from the community cannot be blabbing about the other people's
Well, they
personal
would have to
business.
sign a confidentiality.
Yeah, they have to sign a
agreement.
confidentiality agreement.
I don't
because
think
they're
his,
discussing
um,
personal business.
His housing committee suggestion wasn't for community members to be on it. There was a pretty specific layout, I think.
Internal.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
internal, but different departments throughout the.
But whoever's on this committee does have to sign a confidential, because they're
absolutely.
looking at people's personal business, personal affairs.
But I'd also would like to see a community, or even a couple community members on that board for that transparency.
You have to be careful, really careful with who you.
But they all have to sign a confidentiality agreement. We all do.
yeah, we do.
Oh, he said he'd
Good idea.
be a couple minutes, maybe take a break.
and property maintenance. Tom is here. So you want to start a selection committee comprised of yourself and some of the staff and directors. Is there any community members involved in this?
For what's being proposed, no.
No, okay.
So this would be, it would kind of replicate the selection committee that we have for the mortgages.
Okay.
So it's the same terms of reference, essentially the same process. And then those recommendations for the mortgages, then the recommendation comes to council. We can add that as a step as well.
Okay.
but
So I guess this here concern that's raised in the community about nepotism and favoritism, I guess, is the, I don't believe that occurs, but is it the policy that actually creates barriers for people getting housing? Or is it, what is it? They don't have sufficient income, or landlord references, or bad credit, or lack of affordability?
The affordability wouldn't stop someone from getting on the wait list. But
Anybody can apply,
it
but
could
again,
impact the length that you'd be on the wait list. So if you didn't have the affordability for a full rate rental unit, you would then be on the list for a rental income rental unit. We have 203 homes, but we probably only have maybe 20 RGI homes.
RGIs.
So there's a lot less. So the time takes longer to get through. This is also where the perception that people get selected ahead of other people happens, right? So when you're on the waiting list, you'd be there based on eligibility for the affordability, but also for the bedroom size. So if you're only eligible for up to a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom comes, it's going to go to the next applicant that's eligible for a 3-bedroom.
And so anyway, the applications are date stamped.
Correct.
And so the oldest one is the first one considered, right?
The oldest eligible.
The oldest, okay, the oldest eligible applicant is the first one accommodated. So they've been date stamped now for years.
Sometimes the confusion though, Chief, was I phone in, I put my name on the list, I phone in, okay, you're number 67. Okay, that's good. Next guy calls in, okay, you're number 86. Well, where the confusion ends, the guy with the 86 got it before the other guy did. That sometimes is where that confusion is.
Because there's other
There are other
affordability,
people
credit
that
rating, all that
hear
landlord
news
references.
Don't know that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, not that, I haven't followed it because I've got my own place. You know, I worked hard for paying my own place week by week. But just now, I don't know if it's true or not, and I'm not pointing any fingers, but I understand that some gentleman that lived in the US was awarded one of the rental units, I believe in Shannonville, coming home from the US. And I don't know if he was on a waiting list, but turned out to be the son of one of the
Housing workers.
yes,
It
absolutely.
was actually the brother, I think.
As a brother. So how did he, coming from the US, get preference?
Because he was on the waiting
Precedence?
list.
Oh, he was on the
Yeah.
waiting list for that.
And those are the threeplex, the senior homes.
That's what I understand, yeah.
And they were also targeted to homeless or at risk of homelessness. So
Okay.
we sent out an attestation to all of the addresses for any of the seniors that were on the waiting list to see if they would self-identify, because we previously weren't keeping stats to whether or not they were homeless or at risk of homelessness. But the funding that was attached to the construction of the homes for CMHC required homeless or at risk of homelessness.
Okay, that's great, because that's just clarification in my own.
It comes
mind,
up
yeah.
all the time that there's a preference put on housing employees, families, or friends, which is the importance of this type of committee. So now there'd be 5 separate people that would review the applications and make that recommendation for selection, versus one staff member weighing those criticisms.
I think this is a fantastic idea. I think exactly what you said, that it can't just be put on one housing member now to say like, oh, your son got in, it's because you're in housing. With the creation of this, it looks really good to me. Is the terms all set out already? I did see the terms of reference, but like how the committee will make those decisions, like the scale or first come, first serve, I think. I don't know how it operates now.
So right now,
But will that committee kind of develop that or?
the terms reference would still be in draft, looking for council support
Okay.
for the committee. If this goes through, then I would work with Shu to develop the final
Okay.
version, which can then come back to council
Oh,
for
fantastic.
final approval.
Would this committee also look into people that are current tenants to see if their housing situation doesn't suit them?
That was
Just a like a man and a woman in a 3-bedroom house?
no, that wasn't part, but it could be.
Because I think that would be, because then that would utilize, it would open up a house.
The
for a family
difficult
needs.
to that though, so if we have an existing tenant that is now considered overhouse, let's say their kids have now grown, they moved out, you have a senior couple living in a 3-bedroom home, is that where do we put that senior couple now? Right now, we have a shortage, so to say that, okay, you're not eligible for this house, now you have to go, you're putting now, it would solve maybe my problem, but then it's gonna put a lot more onus over on CWC.
I wonder if when there is opportunity, if we can instill something where we just ask them, because we might have somebody who's grown elderly but been in a 4-bedroom house for years and years and years, but now might like to be
Absolutely.
moved over to one of the granny flats or something like that.
Absolutely.
Like the one I know for sure, the guy is 24, 25, his girlfriend living in a 3-bedroom.
So, Tom, there have been some changes to the rental policy. Can you just go over what those changes are?
The
Did I
recent
just-
change was to add that priority ability for the homelessness and at risk of homelessness for those
Okay.
specific designated units. So there's the 4 3-plexes and the 5 homes in Shannonville.
Yeah. Then now this COB funding, when we can start accessing that COB money, that will help people. Hastings County provides up to $358 a month for top-up rents to help people that are struggling with affordability. And so I'd like to see, but there's an income test that you have to meet if you're single. There's a little bit more if you have a family. I'd like to know from we have what, 200 rentals now?
203 or 206.
206 rental
203,
property, rental units. And so I'd like to find out how many of those would qualify for that subsidy. And the same thing with Ontario Works, if they're struggling with a mortgage or something like that, that if there's a lack of housing, that can be considered from what I read. And so I'd like to work with Sam to see if we can get a list, because I've asked for a meeting with Connor Dory and Deborah Headley, who manages that program, to see what the need is in the community. Then once we know what the need is and how many would qualify, then if there's other private band members that rent houses, we need to get a handle on that to find out how many of their tenants might qualify based on income. So if we can do that kind of analysis, that would help us in our discussion with both Paul Clandra and his staff at the Ministry of Housing and CMHC and of course the Deborah Hadley at Hastings County.
So we definitely could do that on the waiting list. It's more challenging on the existing tenants because we don't track their affordability.
No, but if they're at risk of being evicted because they're behind with the rent.
Yep, we could target those ones, yep.
Yeah, and how many income-wise would qualify if there was sufficient money? That would be what I need to know.
Yep.
If we go back to this presentation, I think that it's really good. And the only suggestion I was thinking of was to maybe just add a couple of, because it's got a nice clear layout of how many from each, right? Like housing, social services, finance, but maybe a couple of spares in case there is a conflict. So then we can keep the quorum if something came up and it was like your brother or your son or your cousin or whatever.
So for this, the housing spot wouldn't have a vote.
You would just be the
I
chair,
would be
right?
The chair, and I'm essentially making the recommendation to the committee.
Right.
Looking for the committee's.
Right.
So
Okay.
with the one affordable housing application, I'm informed that there's over 200 applications to rent there. And a significant number of them are our members.
Yes, I think 77 or so. The list that they sent me was 125, but I had membership vetted and it came out with 77.
So
And then
that gives you some idea of the need
13,
for
I
housing.
think,
And
from
it's a
our waiting
crisis everywhere in Canada.
Absolutely.
Did you hear that, Chief?
13 are from our waiting list as well.
Right. So of those 77, 13 are from the waiting list.
Okay. So anyway, so I guess what does the council think then about setting up this committee that has been recommended here, and the terms of reference are there?
I approve, or I don't approve.
To support it?
I support it.
I'll say that.
I support it for sure, just with the addition of some spares if we do need too much conflict change.
Does this have to do with, that has to do with mortgages, or does it have to do with us, like the council building or nothing?
No, these are rental
Just the,
properties.
just
They're
the
housing
committee
rental.
already exists for the housing.
Perfect,
for the
okay.
mortgages.
There's one for mortgage, this is for the rental properties.
Perfect.
Now, the other thing, market-based rents, CMHC, in order, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Did Linda, you raise your issue about more community involvement, community at
Well, I
large, such
did,
as?
but,
Okay, 'cause that's a good point.
because on that committee, you said you just wanted staff members. But I know that when we were at those meet the candidates, some of those people said directly that they would like to be on one of those committees. So is there ever gonna be an appetite for a community member to be on a housing committee?
Would that be a housing committee or would that be, so this is just for the selection?
Yeah, that's what they said
For the
too,
selection?
just for the selection, because of that. Well, no, it's always band members look after band people.
Long as there's an ability that for the confidentiality, then I have no concern.
And I said, I.
The whole
see a
committee could
problem
be.
with-
Okay.
Well, I'm saying
The only, the only,
Which would actually deal with all those types of.
yeah,
Right?
Well, it would remove the day-to-day responsibilities from
The staff.
NDQ and would remove the majority of the authority from council. So
If you had
the housing authority would be a
or you had community
standalone
members.
structure.
Oh, that's separate from this, though, right?
It's a different
Yeah,
kind of thing.
so
The-
just on this,
the only thing is that there can be, if somebody's, from whatever we're operating or in charge of, if there's a breach of somebody's privacy and their personal information gets leaked out, you can discipline staff, but you cannot discipline a community member.
that's my,
But the liability would
concern, too.
still exist no matter who did it
I
because
was
it's.
just trying to
because it's-
address the
Because it's a
community's
committee
concern.
under the control of
Absolutely.
council.
They kept, really bringing that to me at those meetings.
Yeah.
So that's, and I said, when I got
That's the
here,
only-
I would bring them up, so I'm bringing them up.
absolutely.
And the other thing is there'd have to be conflict of interest policy too. That has to be observed. You can't champion for your daughter or your son or your brother or.
We can, I can talk with Shu to see if there's an ability, if there's a way or a better way to do it.
Because
to
I'm
have
just trying to address the
community
issues that was brought to me. That's all I'm doing.
Well,
The
the
other
only,
thing-
the only,
Absolutely.
the
one thing
only,
that we are looking at doing, and I'm working with Bryce to do it, is to put the list on the website. Now, it won't be a list of names. At this point, once your application is accepted, you'll be given an application number. And then it'll be track application number, date, bedroom eligibility, whatever.
so for example, would,
Share. This way, you could follow that. Now it's
Yeah.
not the secret
that's
list that everybody thinks I keep down
Yeah.
here to myself, right?
so for
It's
example,
just trying to figure out how do we get that on the website in a presentable manner that doesn't impact the confidentiality.
so I
awesome.
guess the committee would look at their income, the verification of their income, right?
Well, if it's approved, I think you had mentioned that we'd work with Shu to
It-
establish
I
all
guess
those.
It's, if you stick with this plan, they would see the confirmation of the income.
So they would
If
see
we
their
go
credit
to a
report.
Community member, I'm not sure what information then we can share until we figure out the whole.
So
confidentiality.
they would see their credit report, their in
Credit
verification.
report isn't a barrier to being accepted. Council, I believe, made a motion a few years ago that we still do the credit check, but it's not a barrier to being placed. It's same as we don't remove your name from. the
No,
list
to
if
being
you don't
employed, but
update
I guess
information anymore.
to be selected for a rental unit. If they have bad credit, does that affect their ability to get a rental unit? It doesn't?
We can go back to that, but whether or not someone's got bad credit or I don't see how that.
Yeah, because remember, I thought we had that discussion with the bad credit. The bad credit could have been a cell phone from when you was a
Yeah,
youth.
there was, and sometimes, what I would call is saying, because
Right.
quite a few of these people might have had a collection or something like that, but it was paid. And so to me, I think if they paid these collections, it shouldn't have any weight other than, they might have had a difficult
can
time
take a while
between
to
jobs or
establish,
been unemployed or been sick or all kinds of stuff.
We definitely could go back to it. It would be another barrier to.
Yeah.
It's that balance you have to look at between having market housing and housing as a business or social housing. And as I know there's sometimes a want to everything to go as smooth as it can do in market housing, but we also have a social responsibility for the community on this side of the fence as well.
Okay. So it's been moved by, Chris, go ahead.
Does housing still use a point system as a guideline though?
Housing hasn't had a point system for, I want to say 12, 15 years.
So it's 4 or 5 people
It's
looking at an
date stamped.
application and,
All the information from the applications are put onto an Excel file that has essentially the bedroom need, affordability, and then we use that to go down the list.
so someone been on that list 25 years, doesn't matter now.
Nobody's on the list. The oldest applicant on the list, I think, is 2017.
Because there was a time that the council purged the application and it said you had to apply annually.
Currently in the
Then now,
policy.
now they kept there was a lot of flack about applying every year. And so then now it's date stamped from that time onward.
Yeah, I just says
And the
that
oldest application is the first one considered.
at community meetings, we've heard from particular families saying, he's been on my list for 30 years, 23 years. And if it's true, the person's been on the list for 23 years, the question is why and what's needed to fix it.
We don't have a list that long.
Well, I could show you,
Years, it's been
I
on
could
for
clear the
17
list
years,
from-
what do you say?
I can clear the list from the personal information and show you that the oldest application that we have on file that is active. It's like 2017.
Okay,
So previously, if you didn't update your application every year,
Yearly.
you'd be removed from this. So this person may have applied
Remember?
25 years ago, let's say, and never updated their application at some point, and when they were contacted multiple times, was removed from the list. I don't know when, why.
And the other thing, if
We
they
know
don't keep their
council
application
has given
updated,
direction to no longer remove people based on not updating their list. What it's resulted in is a whole bunch of people at the top of the list now, like the top 5, of not having updated mailing addresses, and they just sit there and we send letters, and eventually a couple months later, I move on to the next person.
and so really even to get somebody's address from the post office now, that's all private information. You can't get it. To get somebody's cell phone to update, if they have a cell phone, most people have cell phones now. And so if they move and they don't keep their cell phone, we have no way of contacting them.
So
So
it's
this-
up to the
and this will be
individual to
also
make sure they update that application.
So that should be in the application, they form the responsibility to keep it updated.
It is, it's in the policy, and they have to.
And it's
attest
it's
that
in what
read
they
the
sign.
policy.
Is there guidelines or criteria for you folks to work with? To say, here's the rationale, my decision was based upon this, this, and this?
The policy. So the policy stipulates that this is the requirement to have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedroom. So we would go down the list to find the
Right,
first person
yeah.
that's eligible for.
But
one
if there's
bedroom,
20
2 bedroom, 3
families for that 3-bedroom, how do you
bedroom.
arrive at?
The oldest application. Every application is timestamped.
Okay, see, at one time we used to, yeah, you get points for being the oldest, but you've been on this list for 20 years, but you won't be queued for $10,000 from 20 years ago. What are you gonna do about the money you owe us? But they're saying we don't.
You don't do the point system no more. Hasn't been a point system, I want to say 12, 15 years.
So for the council, at one point, we had a point system to say, hey, if I was the housing guy, this is how I came at chief getting it over her. This is how I got it, chief and council. Based upon the information comes from your application, not something I interpreted or made
This-
up or he
I
said,
can't
she
interpret
said.
But I
Date,
think,
though.
I think
This
that's,
is the
Yeah,
date you
that's
submitted.
still,
I think that's what this committee's gonna rectify, is that issue of.
It's gonna be
it's,
this- gonna
it'll be the
that's
same
recommendation.
because that is the criteria, I think is
Yeah.
what Tommy's saying, is there is criteria,
Yeah.
there's a list, and then there's a date, and you kind of can't argue with the date,
So
right?
this committee will essentially make sure that I'm not saying, okay, well, we'll move this one up. ahead.
Right.
But it's still going to be the oldest timestamped application.
But if that policy does need to be reviewed, I think that is something that we can obviously talk about, but it doesn't, separate from this.
Absolutely, we could definitely go back to a point system.
If, I'm not saying that's what they
I think
wanted, but
it's-
if they did want it,
Yeah, but I think it's a matter of enlightening with council with, here's all the options out there. You can go this way or this way or this way. This one has this benefit, that benefit. Because I know I just haven't done that job for a long time. It's nice to say, look, here's our point system. Here's how we come up with this. Like, challenge all you want, but this is how I come up with this.
I think that's exactly
And
what
that's-
it will do, is this committee will have it and they'll have this structure that says this is how we weight it. So we're
Can
going through
we,
the list. So if it's challenged, you have that clarity to say, these people, none of them are related. They went through it and made sure that there was no conflict of interest. They went through it based on this criteria, which is public. We make
It's
it
the
very
policy.
clear. It's the policy. And what else? Like, it's very clear and transparent that way.
Okay,
I've got, it's in my mind, and it just keep, over this whole conversation, it just keeps going on about the one member that came to our council as when we were running council. And I feel for this gentleman's, I believe it was his son, that says has been on the list for years and years. And I think he stated 17 years or like a long time that has been overlooked. I personally I don't know why he's on there. I don't personally know him.
He's not on the waiting list.
Okay, he's not on the waiting list. So why can we, why was he upset and very, very emotional during the time he came in? And he was very emotional about his son not being on the waiting list for so long. And I don't understand.
Well,
And how can we
okay.
look into this?
well, really, it's it's a
I
lack of
can send the list
communication.
to council.
So what we need to do is, in our newsletter, constantly keep in there that the need to, that the applications only go back to 2017. Anything prior to that was purged, and it's up to the applicant to keep their contact information current on their application form. Keep that in the newsletter. It's just an issue of communication.
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, he might have had it down there before 2017.
He showed you a list, so.
Yeah, exactly. I heard him say that. But if these people that came to us at that council running were on before 2017, maybe they don't know that he has to put himself on this list. But I think he should be taken into consideration, not knowing. I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm sitting on council. I don't know of everything that happens in the community either.
The other thing that we
But
have.
Tommy will have a paper trail, and then that kind of is the other shoe, right? Like, there's two sides to every story, and we need to,
Yeah.
support the staff and the community, whatever way that be. But
So
there's
you've got
clearly
everything
policies.
before 2000.
The other thing that's happening here with the people's personal information, we do not have the permission of the person who's an adult to share their personal information with their mothers or their fathers or their uncles or their cousins or whoever else is calling in to do their business for them. And unless they give us written authorization to share that information, we don't have the authority to do that. But oftentimes you see the mothers and the grandparents and the uncles and aunts dealing with their family members' business, even though these are adult people.
Yep.
And so we have an obligation to deal with the person whose application it is, or the person who owns the mortgage. We can't extend that to their family unless they give us permission to talk about their business with that person, because it's their business. And there's a lot of that goes on here. The mothers or the fathers or everybody except the person whose business it is trying to deal with it.
So hopefully with the selection committee, and if we can get the list or a version of the list that goes online, we're now going to be taking applications online soon. All of that to show, I guess, the additional transparency in that sunlight to show that this is not a secret list. This is not people being moved around, and hopefully in the additional education of
And that
how
they're
it
date
works.
stamped and have been date stamped from whenever
And
that
there's no
started.
secret
Everything's
criteria.
date stamped.
It's all there.
That's how we do the placement.
So anyway, the issue before council is to decide if you want to establish this committee. Is there a motion to establish the committee?
I'll make the motion with consideration of having extra people, like we had mentioned, and then if we're able to have a community member, if Shu says, gets that all worked out, then I'm definitely
We'll
supporting.
bring the final, once she's
Yeah.
been able to make the final changes, and we can bring that back for final.
Okay, I'll
approval.
second that.
You have something else, Chris?
What?
Well,
Oh,
It was Aaron and Glory.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
we're good.
so it's going to be advertised
Okay,
for
sorry.
community members to step up? We're going to open it up to community.
Well,
We don't know yet. We're gonna wait
that was
back
the
for
condition
him
that
to
Aaron
come up with his
mentioned.
report.
We can put that in the
To-
brief note when the final.
It's to look at it, is what she said.
But ultimately, chief and council will decide.
It's a committee of council. You should know who's on your committee.
Oh, who's on the committee?
Well, this is really an
You can make a
administrative.
decision now.
But this is really an administrative committee, right? It's not really like a community committee.
Correct, but it can be, like,
Yeah.
it could be all community members with me presenting to the community members that are on the committee. But what we have to do is make sure that we have a mechanism to allow that because of the confidentiality. So when we come back with the final terms of reference, and that, that decision can be changed.
Like, I think if a community member was involved, you could like black out the name and like the current address or whatever, just have.
But whether or not we can show the income, we could try it. I'm definitely.
Well, without the name or anything, you can't really, they won't know who that income is, right?
But without the name, they might not know if they have a conflict, and that could come
Okay.
back on
Might
that
want
too.
to even black out where they work.
So-
Because communities, small community people.
So for now, it'll be an administrative committee, but Aaron said to have them look at expanding it to a community member. What needs to be changed in the terms of reference, and then there's these confidentiality agreements they all must sign.
So if we want to just do the motion to form the committee,
Yeah,
we'll go back and finalize the terms of reference,
Yeah.
find out the information. Can we add community members? How we have community members, and then council can approve the committee
Yeah.
plus the committee members.
so the committee is established, we agree with establishing the committee, the details you can bring back.
But what Aaron's motion was, from my understanding, is approving it, but adding in some spares, meaning staff
Yeah.
spares, right?
Yeah.
In case there's conflict with the ones that you mentioned.
Yeah,
That's
just,
how I
you know.
understood.
Yeah,
But we can, as Tommy had said, it'll all
Structure
get
it.
structured after.
Okay. And
But the
then see
approval of the creation.
we approve the idea of creating this committee, the details Tom's gonna bring back.
Fantastic.
That motion is carried.
Sorry for that.
Thanks,
So,
Tom.
Swirl
yeah,
around.
final, we've already dealt with the dates there, we've already made motions about all that.
Are we doing the affordable housing one? Add-on? Or no? Because Tommy could stay for that and he'll know.
Sure. Is that in private?
No, it's the Belleville Affordable Housing
Oh, yes.
appointment.
The Belleville Affordable, so anyway, David Soulier was on the board of the Belleville Affordable Housing Corporation. It's a corporation where we have 25% interest. The other partners are Missinaba Cree, Garden River, and Richard Summers Development Corporation. He's the other party that's involved. And so, this is, David Soulier has resigned that board. And this was a motion to appoint Tom Kring to that board because he deals with housing. Is there a motion to do that?
Yes.
I'll
Chris
second.
Brandt, Chris and Aaron?
You good with that, Tommy?
Good.
Okay.
Go with that, all right.
And I think also I have to send them an email, and then they send something back, because was it Garden River has to appoint someone?
Yeah, there's two, I understand there's two that need to have new appointees or something like that, that's what I've been told.
Yeah, so Chris Rancourt, is that his name? I just asked him what we needed to do, whether we needed a council motion, a letter, a MCA, or whatever, and he said, just let him know by email, which I will do after this meeting, and then he sends documents back that have to be sent or signed by the board or something.
Yeah, there's
He'll take
corporate stuff that has to be filed with the government of who their board members are.
Who the appointment is.
Okay, so that's moved and seconded, moved by Chris and seconded by Aaron. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. No, item 33 in the private agenda has been requested in an email from Angela to be moved up into the public session.
Yes,
Is that
because
correct?
the other part of it has already been,
And-
addressed, so we don't, it's
and
not
I-
a concern for being in public.
Does Susan Barberstelk still want to attend the meeting
It's
on
not
this?
Susan, it's Tracy.
Tracy, oh, Tracy Brandt, okay.
Do you want that?
Well, the lunch is here, so let's deal with our lunch first, then we'll bring her in after.
Thanks,
So
Tommy.
we'll break for 20 minutes for lunch.
Thanks, man.
What's that?
Sorry if that broke your brain. Broke mine too.
Chief, Chief, are we gonna break and then come back for one item?
Well,
Because then everybody on the
we've
things-
got the private agenda. Okay, okay,
No, I meant,
we'll bring
because
her
you're
in.
on you're live streaming.
Okay, well then bring her in, we'll deal with it now.
Okay.
Just that these hot lunches are gonna be awfully cold.
What number is this?
Number 33, and the private agenda, the request is to move it to the public agenda. Number 33, the Eska Ogonha, a child care center operation policy manual revisions. And Tracy Brandt has asked to be present when this is discussed. So the council has been requested to approve the corrected ECC policy and operations manual and corresponding changes in the parent handbook. And these are requirements of the ministry.
Yeah, that's number 30.
If you scroll down farther, it seems to pop up because mine only went to 30 as well. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Hi, Tracy. How are you?
you have to like go all the way to the bottom or
So do
something.
you know, Happy New Year, and do you know everybody on the council?
I believe I do, yes.
Okay, and does everybody know Tracy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we can, I guess, bypass the introductions and everybody knows one another. And so we are discussing now the Eska Ogonha Child Center Operations Policy Manual revisions. And I understand that you asked to be present when this was discussed.
I did.
Okay, is there a concern?
No, I just wanted to ensure that everyone understood the things that were in red, that were, should it look like it was a lot of stuff, we had transferred what we felt the relevant things from the previous document into the new document. So in 2018, 2 of the documents split, but we were doing, I guess, the intent at the time was to ensure that there was a policy manual and that there was an operations manual. So with only single council motions in the beginning, it was all put together. We decided that there were things in the operations manual and in the parent handbook that didn't necessarily belong in there.
Okay.
So it was separated in 2018, and we noticed with some current revisions and looking at the current document that things had not been transferred from that original document into the new operations manual.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've brought it back.
Okay, so let's go to the first section in red then.
On page 6.
Page 6.
Yeah.
Now, Tracy, you reviewed this, and Shu, to make sure that this incorporates all of the ministry requirements for the, to update the policy?
Yes.
It does, okay? So the hours of operation is item 3.0, and it says the Eska Ogonha Child Center offers 3 distinct programs: toddler program, preschool program, school age program, and referred to as the before and after program. These programs may change from time to time in response to changes in the Child Care and Early Years Act 2014, relevant CCEYA regulations and funding agency requirements. These programs are elaborated on further within the policy. The center has spaces for 10 toddlers, 16 preschoolers, and 24 school-age children. The current hours of operation are Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. From 6 p.m. Each program has more specific hours as follows. Preschool and toddlers program is Monday to Friday, 7 to 6 p.m. School age program operates before and after classes for Quinte Mohawk School, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. and then after between classes, 3:20 p.m. to 6 p.m. Children are expected to arrive at the center before 9 a.m. Please call if your child is not able to arrive before 9 a.m. or when your child will be absent for the day. If a child is not dropped off as expected, the program manager at the center will contact the parents or guardian and authorized individuals in accordance with the ECC safe arrival and early dismissal policy. We strongly encourage families to plan their arrival for pickup by 5:45 p.m. This allows time to talk with the center employee about the child's day, and if necessary, if a child is not picked up as expected, the program manager or center employee will contact the parents or guardian and authorized individuals in accordance with the ECC safe arrival and early dismissal policy. The center is closed for professional development days that coincide with Quinte Mohawk School, normally 2 days in the fall, winter, and 2 days in the spring and summer. This includes all 3 center programs as teachers attend professional development training as a team. The center adheres to the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte personnel policy, and as such will be closed on statutory holidays between Christmas and New Year's Day and any day specifically designated by the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte administration, personnel policy and procedures. Signs will be posted on the center doors as reminders to any future dates, closure dates. The center will close for 1 week during the summer months when the center staff attends the annual Native Early Childhood Education Conference. Notice will be sent home for parents and will be posted in the center as soon as conference dates are confirmed. Parents will be given a minimum of 30 days notice before the dates of the conference to enable them to make other arrangements. The center also closes from time to time due to inclement weather or operational problems, for example, plumbing or water or hydro problems. In case of the power outage, the building can only remain open for 1 hour. If the power is already out upon arrival, center employees are not permitted to accept children. If the power is to be restored by 10 a.m., the center will call the parents to inform them that the center is able to accept their children. If the center closes for a full day due to inclement weather, a notice will be sent to all parents and registered families through the center's communication app. And so, Tracy, do we have, all the parents have a communication app that's been verified?
Yes,
Okay. Or a phone number?
correct.
If a decision is made during the day to close the center due to inclement weather or operational problems, parents will be contacted by phone immediately. Parents are expected to have their children picked up within 1 hour of the call. Late fee charges will apply if the child is not picked up within 1 hour and there is no just cause or notification to the center. So on this, if they're working, let's say in Belleville, and they can't get off work, is there another designate family member that can pick the children up? Do they allow that? Like
So
an
they
uncle
do
or
have
aunt or?
They do have emergency contacts as well, that they ask for alternate contacts. But normally, we would like to ensure that the parents are notified themselves. They would give direction if they weren't able to.
So they can't put that on that list on an application or something that they're not reachable or unavailable, that the staff have the authority to call the designate?
I think they do have that,
It's
if
on-
I'm
I think
remembering
it's in
from.
their, I think it's in their application process. So they do have an alternate that they call. So they have to call the parents first. That's the
Yeah,
most
I
big
get
upgrade.
that. Mhm.
And then if they don't get them after a certain amount of time, then they do go ahead and call the emergency contact. Normally, though, what we would like is to ensure that if there's some direction from the parent, like if we get a hold of them, they can't come, then they will give direction themselves. But
So
yes.
fees for each program will be charged as follows: the toddler program, $60 per week, $12 a day; preschool program, $40 per week, $8 per day; school age program, $25 per week, $5 a day. Fees are to be paid in advance monthly. Fees must be paid in full week of the 20th of each month. Fees will be charged for all days except statutory holidays, professional development days, and other days. The center is closed for a full day, including the week in the summer when the educators are attending the Native Childhood Education Conference. Fees will be charged for vacation days to be hold child's position. Fees will be charged for late pickup. The late fee charge are $15 per child, and every 15 minutes or part thereof must be paid before your child may return to the center. Parents will be given one reminder notice to pay the fee in full. If fees are still outstanding by the first of the next month, a notice of suspension shall be issued effective immediately. Reentry may be considered upon settlement of accounts and if there is any space available. Food. The Child Care and Early Center Act requires that a well-balanced, nutritious meal and snacks be served. Weekly menus are posted on the front bulletin board. All ingredients are checked to ensure they are nut-free. On a daily basis, no outside food or drink will be permitted at the center due to severe allergies and anaphylaxis reactions due to allergens. Within the center, there may be a child or children who are at risk for potentially life-threatening allergies and anaphylaxis to different foods. Allergens include, but are not limited to, the following foods that cannot be ingested or touched: peanuts, peanut oil, peanut products, fish oils, walnuts, and other nuts or even fruits. Allergic reactions and anaphylaxis shock can occur if a child makes contact with an allergen and will require an EpiPen in emergency medical situation. If a child consumes any of the above allergens in the morning prior to attending the center, their hands and face must be washed. Clothing must be free of any traces of allergens. Program development. Center programs are evaluated regularly to reflect the changes within the CCEYA Act and ideologies or early child education. The center is open to suggestions from parents, guardians, and community members for review of program content. The center staff are encouraged to attend Aboriginal education-specific training on early childhood education conferences, parenting, life skills, and other related courses offered on the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory and other First Nations communities. Specialized services. From time to time, a representative from the Child Oral Health Initiative will come to the center. Permission forms to participate in this program will be sent home for parent signature as required. Community helpers and special guests may visit the center to make presentations, for example, firefighters, police, and community health nurses. Impaired persons. Safety is a primary concern for the center. The center will do all that is possible to protect and keep all children and families safe. If an individual who is impaired at the drop-off time or pickup time, they will be encouraged to give the center permission to contact the emergency pickup. Police may be contacted if the person refuses all assistance. The police will be given the license plate number, the names of the person, and possible direction they are heading. Clothing and supply requirements. The CCEYA Act states that the children are required to be outside for play for a minimum of 2 hours per day, weather permitting. Parents and guardians must ensure their child has appropriate seasonal clothing, outdoor clothing, a hat and boots for cold and wet weather. Each child requires 5 extra complete sets of clothing. Children need 1 pair of indoor shoes. All children belonging must label for easy identification. The center is not responsible for lost articles. Running shoes are required. Children are not permitted to wear high heels or slip-on sandals, such as flip-flops. Sandals with closed toes with rubber soles that include backstrap are permitted. That's the items from in section 3. Is there any concerns with section 3? Okay, no concern. We'll move on to section 4.
There's nothing else in red, right?
So we've dealt with section 4 as well. It's been read. Any concern with section 4?
No, there's nothing else further in the policy that's read.
Okay. Then clothing, and we dealt with section 5. So those are all good. Then there's the application. Sure. You're coming back though, Chris? Yeah. Okay. All right, so then is there a motion then to accept the policy? The policy is understood by everybody and agreeable?
Yep.
Now, if there's financial hardship to meet these requirements, how is that dealt with?
Well, there is a subsidy allowance for off reserve, but if you're talking about specific things for this, in terms of fees or clothing or
Okay.
things like that, like what specific?
Okay, when you said there's a subsidy for off reserve, is there a subsidy for on reserve?
The
It's a
subsidy
subsidized
is,
daycare.
the subsidy is worked in. It's a subsidized daycare.
My
fees.
only concern is the 5 extra sets of clothing. And that might even be if we could just add saying like, if possible,
Okay.
because I wouldn't want them to say, or anybody to say, you can't attend, you don't have 5 extra sets of clothing if they don't have 5 extra sets of clothing to give. So maybe it can just be preferentially.
Oh, no, it's, well, I'll set it here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that there's poverty in the community and, we need to address the poverty. I don't want some child to be denied going to the daycare because the parents can't afford running shoes or the clothing or any of these items so if there's hardship, I'd like to know how that's dealt with and is there a budget to deal with that?
Not within the allocation for the daycare.
then I'd like you to give me a memo to that. So when I have the meeting with the Deputy Minister Cole, then I can bring that up. And I guess if there was a budget to help children with clothing, because if they're on Ontario Works, they get a clothing allowance of some time, but I don't know, is that adequate to cover this kind of requirement? So you might want to check, but if they're not, if they're low-income workers, they may struggle with meeting some of these requirements because, clothing isn't cheap.
And so then what they would suggest is a Jordan's principal application, most likely.
And we should talk to Sam to see if there's any way they can provide some extra money if there's hardship cases, because I don't want to see a child not have access to the care because their family can't afford the things that they were required to buy.
Okay.
And if there's anything like that, I'd like to know about it.
That was my only thing. Other than that, I'll motion to approve.
Second.
That way, Tracy, it avoids the council members hearing about it in the community or when they're out and about because then they bash the staff and they think, there's some kind of discrimination going on. If there's a need that needs to be met about affordability, we need to keep track of those issues and make sure we have some process to deal with that. Okay, so I guess can we have a motion then to adopt this policy revision?
Aaron and Obori second.
Oh, okay. Aaron and who was it?
Aguari.
Aguari. Okay. Okay. The motion is carried. So we will break. Thank you, Tracy. So we will, and thanks for coming in to review that, and thanks for your involvement in the update and look into the affordability if there's any affordability issues.
Absolutely.
Have we had any cases where people have arrived intoxicated to pick up the children?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe that was.
I don't recall ever hearing anything like that. So
No, but I think isn't it something in?
It's something in CS.
it just has to be in the policy. Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the legislation.
Yeah. So
it's included in there.
okay.
Thanks, Russ.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll now break for 20 minutes for lunch.
And actually, we're done.